চমকে চমকে সহকারিকা জলি চকিতে চকিতে মাকে ছুটিলা বিজলি চমকে চমকে সহকারিকা জলি চকিতে চকিতে মাকে ছুটিলা বিজলি হর হর চারা চর পলকে ঝলকিয়া ঘোর তিমিরে ছায় গগন মেদিনী গুরু গুরু নীরজ গরজনে স্তব্ধ আধার ঘুমাইছে সহসা উঠিল জেগে প্রচণ্ড সমীরণ সহসা উঠিল জেগে প্রচণ্ড সমীরণ বড় বড় গাছ গগন ঘন ছাইল গগন ঘনাইয়া বিহিত দশদিশি স্তম্ভিত কাননে নীরব ছাড়া চর আকুল কি হবে কি জানি ঘোরা রজনী বিকল না ভয় বিভরা গগন ঘন ছাইল গগন ঘনাইয়া আবার
Good morning, a very good morning to all the colorful faces also from abroad. Today we are super excited to see you yet again. Yesterday was just the beginning. Today we have much more stored in our treasure. Come on, everyone, let's open up the book of knowledge. Myself, Obhinanda Ball, Head of the Department of Geography, KD College of Commerce and General Studies. Today is more exciting day where we, the Department of Geography, KD College of Commerce and General Studies, have organized the second day of our two-day national webinar on changing physical, economic, and cultural landscapes, understanding the geographic processes and perspectives. Today we have with us our respected principal and chief patron of the webinar, Dr. Dulal Chandra Das, and also all the members of the organizing committee comprising of Uttam Mahato, Shubhajit Barman, and Tuhina Maiti. We are really honored that yesterday we have experienced the auspicious moments shared by the dignitaries like Dr. Damodar Panda, Utkal University, Bhubaneswar, Dr. Animesh Roy, Giri Institute of Development Studies, Lucknow, and Dr. Sheikh Mafizul Haq, University of Calcutta, Kolkata. But that was not the final destination because today we will have with us our respected Dr. Ashish Kumar Paul, Vidyasagar University, Midnapur, Dr. Poddini Pani Madam, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, and Dr. Aman Arora, Jamia Millia Islamia University, New Delhi. As has been quoted yesterday, William Morris Davies in 1905 regarded a landscape as passing from an initial state via sequential form to an ultimate state. The three main controlling factors behind this evolution were being structure, process, and time. But in the late 18th century, James Hutton's concept rightly depicted that the present is the key to the past. So whether it is uniformitarianism or catastrophism, changes are always inevitable. From the oceans to continental heartlands, human activities have altered the physical characteristics of Earth's surface. With Earth's population projected to peak at 8 to 12 billion people by 2050 and the additional stress of climate change, it is more important than ever to understand how and where these changes are happening. A cultural landscape is defined as a geographic area including both cultural and natural resources and wildlife or domestic animals therein associated with a historic event, activity, or person, or exhibiting other cultural or aesthetic values. The global economic landscape is changing. Asian countries, starting with Japan in the early post-Second World War period, followed by the Asian tigers a few decades later, China and also India and several other more recently are becoming more economically and politically important while the roles of other parts of the globe diminish. The failure of most poor countries to improve their position in the global economy puzzles economists from Adam Smith onwards, since they believed that capital accumulation was the source of economic growth. Such arguments are still central of attention. These issues are of course breathtaking to all of us. So, without wasting further time, let's dive into gathering knowledge about the intricate problems and solutions of the present world from our eminent guests in order to better understand our past and brightening our future. Let's welcome all of our esteemed guests and guests of honors and chief guests today accordingly. Are Bodhini Pani Madam and Aman Arora Sir and Ashish Pal Sir present with us? Let me check.
Yes, we are. I am there.
Okay. Okay, madam, thank you. And Aman Arora, sir. Aman Arora, sir, can you respond, please? Uh, okay. Okay, madam is here. So we'll continue in our introductory part. So I want to introduce our respected and very beloved Dr. Poddini Pani madam. We are very much blessed to get her in our so tiny initiative, and she responded to us and requested, and we have requested her to present in front of all of us her research papers, and she agreed. So we are really lucky. So I want to tell you all something about her past details, and about her research, and everything oriented to her in academic background. Dr. Poddini Pani is an associate professor at Jawaharlal Nehru University in New Delhi, India, where she works at the Center for the Study of Regional Development at the School of Social Science. She has her master's in geography and a postgraduate diploma in remote sensing and GIS. Other specialization include geomorphology, land degradation, river systems, climate change, mountain ecosystem, environment, and development. Dr. Pani has over a decade in teaching and research experience and published numerous articles. The number of publications she has published number of papers to be 55, and books to be number is 2, and the seminar attended internationally is 18, and 33 of them are from national background. And she has completed 6 project works sponsored by UGC, ICSSR, DST, and DAAD. The special mention about her are for her honors and fellowships. She has attended Senior Research Exchange Program awarded by India, UK Water Centre, Lancaster University, UK 2019. Shastri Mobility Program awarded by Shastri Indo-Canadian Institute for the year 2016 and 17. DAAD UGC PPP Exchange Program 2016-17, the Established Scientist Travel Award to attend EGU Vienna, Austria 2016, DAAD UGC Senior Scientist Exchange Program at Institute of Physical Geography, Goethe University, Frankfurt, Germany 2014, where she worked on land degradation. Fellowship for Research on Climate Change in Himalaya from Association of American Geographers, AAG, under COE SERVIR 2013. ESRC Research Fellowship under ESRC ICSSR UK India Exchange Program, School of Geography, University of Southampton, UK 2009. Young Research Award 17th MP Young Research Congress, Scientist Congress 2002, and Fellowship for Training in Application of Remote Sensing and GIS in Applied Geomorphology at Group A Development, Teledetection, Aerospatial, GDTA, Toulouse, France by French government in the year 2000. So we can sum up that we are getting an esteemed and honorable guest in front of us. So we are so much lucky and so much honored to get you, ma'am. So ma'am, can you please take over the mic and start your presentation, madam, please?
My slides are visible?
No, ma'am, your
Hello?
Google Chrome is visible till now. You have to open the PPT from background. Yes, ma'am. Now it's visible.
Okay, just is it all right?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely all right, ma'am.
Okay. Just give me a minute. Just a minute. I want to see the slides on window also. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Abhinanda, for your kind and detailed introduction about me. And I extend my gratitude and my thanks to Dr. Das for his generous invitation to share my knowledge, and especially that land where I grew up, and I have lots of memories about Midnapur district. I'm very much thankful to all participants that they are here to listen, to share their experience, and to listen to me and whatever I have done so far. I would like to express my gratitude to other distinguished speaker also. Uh, as a researcher, I can tell you at the beginning that the topic I have selected today to share with you all, that is land degradation and rural development. To be very frank, at the beginning, I can tell you that the topic itself is very complex because the dynamics of land degradation is so vast, so large, and to link up with the rural development, because we know that development is a term which you cannot define within a smaller perspective. To define development, we need to work on in detail to understand the nuances of various ways of development, especially rural development, because there is a very significant linkage between land degradation and rural development. But to establish this linkage is sometimes very difficult, because we know when we talk about rural development, first things come to our mind is agricultural land. But all we know that agricultural productivity can be increased through various means, like using various machineries, fertilizer, manpower, and there are so many things. So we cannot directly link then and there. It always depends on the landscape, depends on the topography, and depends on the entire environment and ecological situation of any area. So that's why, as a geographer, as a geomorphologist, I know this is a very challenging task, but I would like to tell you here, I just selected few geomorphic parameters as well as few parameters of ruralities, which is some way we can able to establish the linkage between these two. So very beginning, if we try to define the land degradation. So land degradation refers to a temporary or permanent decline in any productive capacity of land. But this is a very general term. There are so many confusion, and there are contradictions to define land degradation. So better if we borrow the idea about the land degradation from UN Convention to Combat Desertification in 1994, which is globally accepted definition, that is biological or economic productivity and complexity of rain-fed cropland, irrigated cropland, or range, pasture, forest and woodland, arising from human activities and habitation patterns. But as a geomorphologist, we know there are not only human activities, there are several natural processes also behind different kind of land degradation. Of course, I must express the knowledge that the natural process is very slow and steady in terms of land degradation most of the time, but it is exerted by the human activities. So better to say that the land degradation is a natural and socio-economic cause-effect phenomena. And the land degradation has a tremendous global issue due to its adverse effect on food security, environment, and ecological consequences. Therefore, it is one of the chief causes of loss of biodiversity, which result in degradation of natural ecosystem, causes changes in the biocommunity structure, which is very important at the moment. And the land degradation is a serious global environmental problems and may exacerbated by climate change. This is recent phenomena. We tried to understand that how climate change promote land degradation severely. That's why at the very beginning in UN classification or definition is that is mainly in dry land, semi-arid, arid and dry subhumid region. So that's why the climatic condition and climatic agrological situation condition is very important to understand when we try to understand the impact of land degradation on rural development. And the land degradation encompasses physical in a form of topsoil loss, soil volume loss, the nature of quality of the loss, and then the soil chemical problem as a form of salinity, alkalinity, pollution, and biological deterioration in a form of pollution, and the loss of vegetal removal in many ways. So these are in a form we can say the land degradation can be developed. And globally, if we see, as we can see that last few decades, it's in an alarming rate. So that's why many organizations working towards it, along with FAO, then there are organizations called UNCD. There are many more organizations. They work towards the land degradation processes and its linkage into the development in a form of poverty reduction, in a form of agriculture productivity increasing, and mainly to control the food security problem and to improve the environmental quality. Therefore, we can say that major global environmental issue of this century we need to understand through the land degradation problem. And there are many stalwarts. They have already started working on it, and they are able to establish the linkage between the direct and indirect, although linkage of land degradation to poverty and environmental quality. The mitigation of desertification or land degradation, because land degradation is a very slow, steady process towards the desertification, and desertification is already understood now that the land degradation is one of the cause for desertification. So we need to be very much aware of the problem. And if we see the global statistics, then we can see about 24% of the global land has been affected by the degradation. And 1.5 billion people live on degraded land. And there are so many organizations, they have given that statistics. I just took that statistics to tell you the severity and the problem and the importance to work towards the land degradation. So very quickly, I will tell you about the causes of land degradation. The causes of land degradation, again, a very complex process, because already I told you, mostly people identified human activities to understand the causes of land degradation. But I must tell you, there are geological causes also, which we consider as a natural processes of land degradation along with climate change. But the anthropogenic causes are much more prominent, because we are going through Anthropocene era, when we try to find out the geomorphological processes in the light of anthropogenic activities, because anthropogenic activities these days so prominent, so powerful due to the advancement, due to the introduction of new machineries. So our job is very, very easy to change the landscape. Like if you see your surrounding, then you can see that there are so many hills, so many hillocks, river system, everything is altered now, and it is getting more altered over the time. So that's why this particular aspect is very important to understand. So along with deforestation, overgrazing, overuse of chemical fertilizer, pesticides in the agricultural land, over irrigation, shifting agriculture or jhum cultivation, and climate change and geologic erosion, we can consider the cause behind the land degradation processes. But there are several types of land degradation type already been identified in the world perspective. So at the beginning, if we see, there are few major categories are there. One is physical degradation, that contributes 4%. Water erosion is maximum, that is 56%. Then chemical degradation is 12%, and wind erosion is 28%. This is the global statistics. And the types, if we go for the process, then we can see the agriculture activity, which is 27% due to the use of chemicals, fertilizer, pesticides, more irrigation, overuse of irrigation, all such thing comes under that. And then slope cultivation, all such thing comes under the agricultural activity, which contributes 27% of the total geographical areas land degradation causes. Then there is overgrazing, that is contribute 35%. Then overuse of vegetation cover or removal of vegetation, or for not only for fuel to build up the land, remove after the removal of vegetation cover, that also contributes 7%. And industrial activity, that contributes nearly 1%. That is, I have taken the source from FAO and UNEP. They are already that established agencies working towards the land degradation processes. So if we see the types, then we can broadly categorize it in 3 types. One is physical, chemical, and biological. And if we classify, if we notate the types, then we can see the acidification, salinization or alkalinization, compaction, waterlogging, soil erosion in a form of gully, ravine, seat, tunnel, wind, gravity, mass movement, glacier, landslide, all those things comes under the soil erosion. And then biodiversity loss, vegetation removal or deforestation, loss of water bodies, pollution, and desertification. These are the types broadly comes under these 3 major categories of land degradation, process of land degradation. And there are standardized mitigation, already adopted mitigations are crop rotation, steep cropping, afforestation, check dams, and there are many more. So these are the standard practice all over the world to combat with the land degradation problem. Now, if we see the land degradation in India, then we can see this map is enough to tell you the various types, major types of land degradation. One is the water erosion, then total barren and rocky area, acid soils, and wind erosion, and then sodic soils, and snow covered area or completely glacial covered area where agriculture is not possible. That means here every land we are trying to understand in a form of how much it is cultivable. So that is the first parameters to understand that how much area is usable for us for cultivation purpose. And rural people based mainly depends on agriculture. So that's why the linkage is this way we can establish the linkage between these two. And that map has been produced using Wasteland Atlas and from the soil profile prepared by the by our organization Soil NBUSS from Nagpur, Kajri, and from ISRO. So what is the significance of this study mainly for India? As we know, in India is since beginning from our primitive time, our major activities was agriculture. And if we see the 2001 census, then we can see that nearly 80% of the rural population was dependent on agriculture. But in 2011, it is slightly decreased. Around 65% of population in rural areas depends on only 40% the cultivable land of the total geographical area as per agricultural census is dependent on the available of the land. So that's why the earlier map, that India map, is prepared based on the availability of the agricultural land. So you can understand the land pressure itself in India, where the around 65% population, they have the access of the land is 40%, which is cultivable. So that much huge land pressure is already established in our country. So that's why the land degradation we need to study appropriately and more in a more scientific and in a more sociological manner, which is actually give us some holistic approach to combat the land degradation problem. And land is one of the few productive assets owned by the rural poor. If you see any rural area or rural household, in different way, they are engaged in some form of agricultural activities. So that's why you can understand the importance. Then degradation always having some threat for the livelihoods of the poor. This interaction actually very complex and conditioned by key economic, social, and environmental factors. If we take the example of Brevier and Hodgers, then we can see that in their work in 2018, that is some of the work of all over the world's that linkage of land use and rural development, it has come up with this fact that every land is very unique. If you see the geographical area, geographical landscape, it is sometimes it is very privileged. If you see the Indo-Gangetic plain, if you see the same thing in Ladakh, it is very different. So the diversity, the heterogeneity is very common. So heterogeneous land, but the problem is same. So development cannot be uniform everywhere, or with the same parameter is not always useful for the same land. So every time we have to see what kind of landform it is, what kind of geographical location it is. So that's why we have to widen up our knowledge. So that's why always we need to think about not only in physical perspective, the socio-economic perspective, the anthropologic perspective also very much important to understand a landscape, its changing dynamics, and its impact for any form of developments of the people who are residing in this particular area. Now I can
excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, in the bottom corner there is a hide button. If you press that, then there won't be any obstruction in your screen. Stop sharing. Beside that, you have a hide button.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please.
So, okay. But I can't see my slide then.
No. You have to open the slide again. Open the slide. No. Okay. Don't stop presenting. Just open the slide from PPT. Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah. Okay, ma'am.
Is there any problem?
No, the obstruction, the line in the bottom is creating obstruction.
Okay, I got it. I got it. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay.
So, can I resume?
Ma'am, yeah, ma'am.
So the methodological. Okay. So the methodological issue of measurements, mapping of land degradation is very important because, as I said, that the huge area comes under land degradation. So mapping itself is a task, and if we don't map it properly, that means we can't evaluate or do assessment of the land degradation processes and its impact. So mapping is a very significant issue because most of the time these days actually we use remote sensing data for that, mostly optical data, because this is easy to get it from open sources like Landsat to List3. Even if you see the World Atlas, if you see Indian Atlas, Desertification Atlas, or in NRSC data or Bhuvan data, these are based on open sources. But those optical data is not enough to characterize the land degradation or its type. So that issue is always there. So that's why micro study, region-based study is important to get the in-depth analysis of land degradation. So these are the major organizations who work towards the land degradation. So for your knowledge, I just put the name of the organization who are very actively engaged preparing maps and assessment of land degradation in India. Then the total geographical area of India, we have seen around 9% area comes under the land degradation processes as per 2011-13 NRSC data. And around 0.57% of total area has been increased in last 10 years. And out of which only 10% of the area is due to water erosion only. So that's why water erosion is one of the concern for us to understand the land degradation processes. And you can see here in this pie diagram, around 39% of the area is is eroded due to only water. So there are several type of water erosion like topsoil loss, gully formation, reel formation, ravine development. Then sometimes salinity also comes under this. And when we see this map, it is prepared by NRSC Wetland Atlas. So from this data is actually lead us to do our research for a particular type of land degradation and to understand its impact on rural development. Whenever we talk about land degradation, we think about the productivity of the land. That means we are talking of agricultural land. But agricultural land is not the end of the story, because agriculture, of course, is one of the livelihood means that we need to think. Because if we think in this linear direction, like land degradation is impact on agriculture, then always we try to improve the agricultural land in a form of use more fertilizer or to get more land, doing land leveling or deforestation, removal of vegetation cover. That means again we are disturbing our natural landscape, the natural composition of the land. So we need to think that whenever we go for this, one set of people, one section of society only privileged to do that, not the all people. So a marginalized section is always lag behind to get that access. So that means we are going towards the uneven development. And if we take the earlier researcher works like Lambin, then Ratan Lal, then Driver, and there are many more. Their work, if we see very carefully, even then we can see that then even Blackie's work, then we can see that when we pressurized the land, when we have severe land pressure and a particular section is only capture the land, so rest of the people actually dependent on the nature, dependent on the environment. So what we can see, the extraction of environment is much more than the normal. So that means we are leading the environmental degradation. And when environmental degradation take place, so natural ecology, the balance is disturbed. So what we can see there is many off-site and on-site implications. Like the water bodies, it receives more sediments because of removal of vegetation cover, because people try to get more wood for the forest. Mainly the forest product they use as a form of livelihood means they depends on the river system to get more different kind of fish and different kind of other aquatic animals. So the entire ecosystem getting disturbed due to one kind of problem. So when we see the land, we should not get more land or to increase more productivity. It is already established. There are two-way process, because if we pressure on land, then there are reverse activity. So we need to understand those parameters to understand the overall development. Just for an example, when one section of people do agriculture, they put more fertilizer, they have land rights, and other people who don't have any land rights, they are only using any land for patta basis or for the lease basis. So what we can see, they never invest much on this particular land because they see that they don't get return after a point of time, and their credit market also not accessible for them. So what you can see, the land is due to this mismanagement of the land, or to get more within a period of time, 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, we actually cause more degradation of the surroundings or our available agricultural land. So these things we need to understand. So that's why holistic approach is very important to combat land degradation. Every land doesn't need to be productive. We have to see in a different way towards our surroundings. To understand this phenomena, I picked up one area that in this area I'm working, so that's why it is easier for me to cite some examples to prove this theory. There are significant interaction or linkage between these two phenomena. So what I can say is here, like if you see the India's water erosion area, there are 4 major areas. And out of these 4, if you see the central part, that is Jamuna Chambal zone. This is my research area. So I can give you some more examples of it. So that Jamuna Chambal area, it is one of the largest badland area. Here, that area is very much dissected, very much inaccessible, and remoteness is one of the problems. And already I said that the geographical location is very important. And yesterday, Animesh Roy also explained that how that geographical space is designed. But this area, if we see, it is very much interlinked with the railway, very much connected with the railway, the central railway system, then the highway, and water ferry also here is present. So that means geographically it is an ideal area, but this area is known for its backwardness. If you pick up this area, then you can find out many stories of this area. Backwards problem to high crime problem, and at the same time, this is the area is very densely populated, and this area is drained by the Jamuna and Chambal, one of the major tributary of Ganges. So that means we can assume that area should be very fertile. Of course, that area was fertile, but that fertile area become unfertile due to some kind of problem. What is the problem? That is the gully and ravine network development over the years. It is the origin of this land. There are still till date there are controversy. Like there are many theories over it. One is the natural processes, another is overgrazing theory. But both the thing actually works together. If we see our earlier researcher work, then we have found that is at the beginning maybe it is started due to the initiation of channels, and then there is instability due to the neotectonic activities, and later stage it is accelerated by the human activities. Like one of the example is overgrazing. But this is the area we should remember that there is no such history of forestation. This area was never known for its woodland. Like if we see Irfan Habib's work, then we can see that like in Mughal time, there was also no such vegetation cover. So his history, the atlas is saying that there is due to the lack of vegetation cover, this area is always considered to be one of the barren land. So that means the removal of forestation is not only cause, but here the forest is only ravine area, that thorny scrubs, the babul, acacia, parvati babul, this kind of the vegetation cover is only contribute the forest in this area. So as per the Forest Survey of India's data, this is the Chambal area. So we picked up one district. Of course, the whole area comes under three the large states. One is UP, MP, and Rajasthan, and a very huge part of these three districts comes under this ravine area, and there are few districts is very much disturbed due to the ravine problem. So for my study, I picked up one district that is known as Morena district, and there are 799 villages. Out of the 799 villages, 167 villages are inside the ravine. So that 167 villages study we have done through census, and then rest of the outside of the villages we study through census again. And there are few villages which is not surveyed due to the remoteness and inaccessibility. So that data is not available. So out of that, we picked up few villages where the very severe land degradation take place to understand the process, causes, characterization of ravine, and its linkage with the rural development. So that is highly, already said, the densely populated, and 80% of the people in this area is dependent on agriculture. And in our study, we have found only 2 or 3 households out of 100 households is only depends on other livelihood means apart from agriculture. And we should remember the nature of the villages in this area is very small. If we take the example of Bihar, the size of the villages are very large. Like there are sometimes 1,000 to 10,000 households, but in this area, the large household means 100 households only. So because of the diverse nature, diverse topography, here the village size also very small. So that also we need to think when we try to establish the linkage between these two. So what are the major issues of this area? The issues are the ravine landscape, which is very remote, create some remoteness due to its diverse that ruggedity, and its development, its encroachment towards the fertile land, towards the agricultural land. Its expansion rate is very fast, And then people perceive this land as a jungle, and in some sense they find that that jungle is in a way a major source of income in a form of fuel wood. They collect from that area. They get teti, is called local bear, which used for pickle. And there are actually some dependency. Like when we go for the definition of ravine by name, that means hungry land. But that hungry land also somewhere is useful for the local people. As why I'm saying all those things, because at present, if you see the different newspaper report, then there are different plans by the government. They try to industrialize that area. They try to level the area. There are so many programs are going on in this area, but they are more promoting inaccessibility towards the people for the natural resources. And there are much more soil contribution towards the water bodies, and mainly in river system. And there are few projects, these large scale projects are going on in this area. There we have seen few agriculture, different kind of horticulture practices going on, but only few people are employed for this particular program. But those land is encroached by some organization. So that means it is not no way creating any such livelihood means for the people. So we need to, whenever we go for any government policy and programs, we have to think that it should not promote any uneven development. It should promote some harmony, some social equality. We need to think about it. So that's why the method we have designed for this study, we were very careful while designing it. To understand the micro study, we go for 2.5 meter resolution cartosat dam at the beginning, and least for 5.8 meter resolution to characterize the landscape, and go for Alice Falser for comparative study of the cross section of ravine nature, and along with different physical parameters we have taken, like the width, length, and the stiffness of the ravine to characterize its expansion rate and suitability of the agriculture practice or land leveling practice, apart from census data and household survey and focus group discussion. So very beginning, which I explain every time, like it is very important to understand like how and which way this land is developing. Like if you see, it's a very innocent flat land. There are small holes developed. At the beginning, we think like how does it matter if small holes are developing? Because these holes are actually bringing up the disease. If we consider the ravine formation is a disease, if the percentage of soil calcium carbonate is more in the soil, that actually play a role when it receives rainfall. So there are mutual erosional process take place and small holes develop, and that small holes all along develop sometime and join together over the time in a form of tunneling process. And that tunnel actually a second stage of that ravine expansion process or development process. In this tunnel, actually there are again mutual action between the water and soil. There are more soluble salts and more soluble sediments actually started flowing down by the action of water hydraulic forces. And it has been established all over the world that rodents and other animals like porcupine and other animals, they actually accelerate that erosion over the time. But for this particular area, Chambal area, there are much more prominence we have seen the tunneling process due to the mutual action of water and soil, not by the rodents. But you can understand the size of the holes, how big these are. And when this roof collapsed after the time, we can see the deep ravine form taken place. Apart from reeling, we can see this kind of deep trench develop, and over the time there are backward erosion and it is widen up and develop different form of ravine in a form of more narrow bed area and wide bed area. And as per this, gradually we can see the stages, and gradually it comes to the recescent stage. The third or fourth stage is recescent stage, when we can see that the backward erosion is much more prominent than the horizontal, than the vertical erosion. So backward erosion actually develop that notch kind of formation take place, and these are the alluvial knolls, and gradually those are very much side erosion take place, but once there is vegetation cover developed, so these are much more stable. So this time we can say there are stabilized of gullies. These are actually good if this kind of promotion take place for a longer time, but removal of vegetation again leads the erosion of this area. And this is very closer view of the recession stage of the ravine. And if you see, this is how a needle kind of formation take place, and in between this you can see there are deep erosion, and gradually this area will be collapsed and promote backward erosion, and gradually it is come towards the backward side over the time after 3-4 rainy season. And this is the overall glimpse of the area. Like you can see that how the deep erosion, deep ravine to the marginal land develop. In between these two ravine land, there are agriculture practice. This is actually the foothills of the foot of the ravine where the talus is deposited, and those are actually considered as a blessing in disguise. Very deep, thick alluvium is there, so water recede in this area. But after 4-5 agricultural turnover, we can see this is more barren, which is irreversible, and more water contribute because of the loose soil in this area, and that soil actually going down towards the river system, and that barrenness actually transformed to a permanent barrenness, which cannot be retrieved further. So that is the actually problem in this area. As they try to take extra land from ravine and do agriculture, which promote further land degradation. And this is another example of unscientific agriculture practice on the slope. Here you can see, because they don't have any other option. Whenever I see this land, always I remember the line of poet Sukant, that Purnimar Char Jano Jhalsano Ruti. Like they don't have any other option rather than doing this agriculture on the slope. You can see that how that baldness developed, but over the years, the same land converted to ravine, full-fledged ravine. They don't have any option. They can't leave that land for some time for management. They can't do it because they don't have any other land for their food crop. So they have to go for the agriculture practice. And this is, you can see here, the next to the road, how unfertile, how barrenness is there. It's sometimes you can see that so much of loose soil is there and so much of barrenness. So you can understand that the close view of ravine, how does it look inside? Sometimes it varies few meter to 80 meter, which is very deep. And inside it, you can't do anything, and during rainy season is vibrant. You can understand so much of how much soil is going down towards the river system. This is another impact of ravine formation in the area. Here you can see that headward encroachment towards the agricultural land, and this is the powerhouse which was built in 2012, and now it is almost tilted. So to manage the properties is again a problem for this area. If there are so many villages we have visited, the electrical that infrastructure, but no electricity is there because there is a country lost. To manage this area, to repair such kind of powerhouses is again needs lots of effort, which is very difficult during rainy season. And here you can see the pole is getting tilted over the time due to this kind of high rate of runoff of this area and loose soil. And this is another area which is actually again very thought-provoking for us. Like this is the area where we can see the active site of erosion. Here the down cutting as well as lateral cutting is very high by the Chambal River. And people informed and people reported that time there are some submerged villages, submerged houses, which was village name is Bilpur in Morena district in Amba Tehsil, and those remnant houses we spotted here in the river because the water of this river is very clean in this particular stretch. So what we have seen there, that the pink stone, actually this is the stone which is available in this area, that is actually the remnant of the houses. So people reported this, and so we started a survey to understand why it is happening. And we have found there are there are few villages all along in this particular stretch as deserted. And these are the examples. And here you can see how village and ravine exist together in the same area. This is the path, which is actually gully path. People use the rest of the year, apart from rainy season. And here people resides, and these are the villages people left out. And here you can see that how road is getting destroyed by the Edward erosion. So this promotes a particular thoughts for us, like how and which way ravine expansion is taking place and how people are forcing to shift from one place to another place. So we executed one study long back. During our field survey, around 23 villages we surveyed, and we measured that the shifting rate of each villages. And we use this model in GIS environment, and we have seen that the shifting rate of villages are varies from each other. As you can see here, the nature of the ravine in red color and green color, actually it is like the river flowing, and then the morphology of the river. And we can see here the 31 meter per year in this particular area. And there are different villages, and that expansion rate is the different, and at the same time the shifting rate also very different from one place to another. And when we picked up another one village where you can see very active site, very severely eroded area, that the name of the village is called Esa. And now this village we put as a geoheritage site in our geoheritage atlas. So this village, if you see, then there are 8 number 7, you can see there are different small rounds and small cluster of houses. Actually, these are the cluster of houses which shifted from the main village named Esa. And thus that process people say Pura, means small clustered house. These are called Pura Padta Hai. Here people used to say, that means they are fragmented from their earlier villages, their parent village, from one place to another due to the high rate of ravine expansion or damage of properties, damage of their part of houses, and damage of the village road. So they are forced to shift to the agricultural land. When they forced to shift to agricultural land, that means they are built up land develop, and that is again at the cost of agricultural land. So this way again they lose the substantial agricultural land in a form of this cluster of house shifting. That is not only lead to the agricultural land loss, that is also increase the stress, and people are feeling that socially they are excluded from their parent village. So it leads some kind of stress on the people's emotional well-being. So that also we should consider. And then you can see by these photographs, that is the barren area, the part of this Esa village where one well is there, and there are still very fresh water, and people report, and there are remnant houses also all along, and people reported that 50 years back they used to stay in this village. So which is quite interesting. So we picked up this gully, and which is one of very prominent and long gully, larger gully. It is around 7 kilometers long and very wide. And this gully actually people use for motorable road, which is unmetallic, and rest of the rain, apart from rainy season, they use this area for the motorable and for their communication. Because this is one of area which we need to remember. This is the area where during rainy season people don't have any connectivity, and they have very least connectivity with the major land or main land. There are few villages there. We have seen that the Sarpanch used to live 7 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers away from the village. So again, you can understand that how governance work in this area. So that means the landscape has control over that also. So that we should not forget. And then what we can see here, there are red colors. These are actually gully plugging. All along they try to plug gullies just to prevent further runoff, to check further soil loss. And here the check dams are built up. These are the small check dams, which is one of the very suitable land mitigation, that ravine mitigation programs. But still you can see that here the gully is very prominent, and the one of the mitigation is gully diversion. They divert the gully path so that the road cannot be damaged during rainy season, and they fit a large size of pipes in the gully so that extra water they can drain out for when it comes to this particular area. But within few years of time, it started in 2008, but 2012 and 13 onwards, again the gully takes its own path. They could not control the gully using of so many plugs. You can see all along few kilometers down the line we have surveyed, and we found there are several plugs, and those plugs are no longer stable. It started damaging. So that means every year they have to rebuild those plugs. That means again so much of money and land and labor is required to prevent further erosion of this area. So it leads certain kind of stress. And here I am at a scale, you can see around 10 feet height is there, and it is create huge hole. Say 8 to 10 feet, the total the dimension of this hole, and which is quite large, I believe, and which is very much devastating. And after a point of time, it will be collapsed and develop full-fledged ravine. So this is very thought-provoking for us. And when we did survey of this area, we found there are few springs all along the river bank of Chambal, and those springs are actually connected with this gully. So, and there are few more small and large gully which are connected with the spring. So, in a geomorphological terms, we can think that how it promotes, how it develops, maybe due to the high rate of spring sapping is going on. That's why the gully is very much vibrant, and its length, its headward is encroaching towards the fertile land, and the gully length is increasing over the time. This is the spring, and that water people use as a holy water, and they use for the skin disease. And that springs are again, people are saying, getting there are less water over the time. So and this is the area where I can see the headward encroachment towards the road and towards the fertile land. Here you can see this fertile land. This is actually the gully head, which gully you have seen earlier. So this gully again a very, very active, very forceful and severely eroded. And you can see the small flat of land is still intact, and farmer of this land, he's trying hard to protect his land, but I am sure within years of time that area also will be gone down to the gullies, or convert to the gully, and that length of the gully will be far more. The length was at when we surveyed in this particular area. So you can imagine this way that how much problematic to prevent a gully encroachment of this area. So these are the different activities. Here you can see how the agricultural land is eroding down. Here one of the researchers, during his field visit, he measured it. It is around 3 feet deep, and they try to fill this land. But again, it is every year they need to put some soil in this to prevent further erosion. And this is the small curve. You can see inside this headward. This is actually constellation of many headwards here, and there are thin scarp line, and which can be collapsed after few rains and develop full-fledged gully system of this area. And to quantify itself a very difficult task, as the area, I forgot to tell you that time, it is around 4,800 square kilometer area. And this, out of 4,800 square kilometer area, there is 600 already been leveled, but still the ravine encroachment process is very active. So that's why our study is to understand the land leveling is the one way people adapting very rigorously. They do this practice very rigorously. Although it is some section of people are doing it, but it is not foolproof, and there are encroachment is still going on. That means the geomorphological activities are very prominent, still very active in this area. We should not forget it. Although the total ravine area getting down at the moment. So this particular digital elevation model have been used to understand the gully line change. Although it is not foolproof again, Alois Pulsar and Cartosset Dam have been used to get some comparative analysis, but it is not foolproof at all. You need some physical survey to understand the change accurately. So there are some cross section have been done to understand the change of the gully area, and it is enough to understand there are changes. So that means people are working towards it, but it's not foolproof, and there are many more other problems also arise due to this unscientific practice, because they randomly do land leveling for the area, even for the shallow land and for the deep ravine, because shallow ravine used to give as a form of land rights earlier to one section of people, mainly for the marginal people. But nowadays, the resourceful people, they just try to do land leveling even on a deep ravine. For the deep ravine, they use JCB per hour 600 to 800 rupees if they spend within a day, like 3-4 days is enough to do land leveling of this area. To quantify it, this is the figure I can show you. This is prepared with one of my co-researcher, Professor Marja, to quantify that how in a deep ravine, where we can see around 60 meter deep ravine, there are a huge chunk of soil has been removed, and they use for infilling the gullies. And this is the area where we can see the land leveling is going on in a deep ravine. And here the shallow ravine, and we can see the situation. In 1971, that ravine leveling started, and till date it is intact. But when people do the land leveling in deep ravine, there we can see there is no such sustainable measure taken place. Although this 2011-13 data is showing there are huge amount of land leveling is done, but this much of soil we already lost, and ultimately this soil is going down to the river system. So our river system actually lost its natural flow due to the deposition of huge amount of soil in the river system. So it is not only lost not obstacle the natural flow of the river, it is actually changed the river ecological system, the river system. So it again has impact on the aquatic animal. There are terrace leveling, which people consider as one of the indigenous way of doing it. Here the deep ravine, at the top of the ravine, they just flatten it, and the rest of the area they leave as it is, so that in the few rains would enough to level the land automatically in natural way. But it takes few years of time. But these days, due to the availability of the machineries, people go for immediate leveling, which is very much against of the nature. So what is happening? So more soil loss is taking place. And to prevent this area, very uniquely they leave the rest of the ravine as a natural barrier, so that water could not take out the soil from this area. And there is one entrance which is there where they put a pipe over here to drain the extra water, and they planted few castor oil plants. As we know that castor oil plants leaves are very broad in nature, and all along Chambal Valley villages they have castor oil plants, which is actually very good to prevent the splash erosion further. So there are other consequences of land leveling. You can see here the river system is getting affected due to this problem, and here you can see the loss of common land. Here the encroachment by the people, so people lost their access to the grazing land, to the other natural resources. And here we can see one of the area where the land leveling is going on for a long time, even just immediate post-colonial time, around 55-57, World Bank had invested lots of money for land leveling in this area. The area name is Bagchini village. But till date, we have seen that if they go for irrigation, there are substantial soil erosion take place, and again there are small gully formation take place, and this soil ultimately join in the nearby river system. The river is known as Kunuari, and you can see that how the stabilization take place inside the water channel. So that means the river is becoming a verge of dying. So it is again very important issue at the moment to understand the river system. River always a lifeline for any semi-arid region or any area for its development. But here river system getting choked due to the random land leveling processes. And this figure is enough to understand that access to fuel, fodder, access to the forest product is so difficult. Sometimes people have to travel few kilometers just to get access to the natural forest. So what is happening due to this? People start using hay, mainly women and children. They are getting affected by this because it creates lots of smoke. So lung disease is very common among women and children because children used to stay with their mother all the time. So this section of people, it is very gender specific, but still there are significant implications on women and children's health of this reason due to the land leveling and inaccessible of fuel and fodder for the people. One more thing we have observed in this area, women never participate for agriculture. They used to do household chores. So this is another sociological dimension in this area. And if you see this area, due to this kind of problem, even the livestock economy also getting down. People earlier used to be very much dependent on livestock. So what we can see, they don't get enough nutrition from milk. Earlier they used to get it. And the livestock and in rural economy actually based on livestock agriculture integrated economy, which is disturbed in this area because of the unavailability of the grazing land. Because there is tremendous pressure on the ravine land in a form of land leveling, and common land is getting down. So grazing land no longer available for the people, and they have to go for a long distance. They have to travel for long distance for grazing. So it also again leads certain kind of stress on the people, mainly in a marginal people, a section of people, and they are forced to migrate from this place to another place, mainly in nearby cities, and they adapt the different kind of occupation. And but those are not very much happy feeling for them, and they are not happy. So it leads certain kind of social inequality, and sense of deprivation is developed among people of this land. So this is the farmer perception of land loss. Among there are 126 households have been studied, and 26.5% of total agricultural land has been lost due to ravine encroachment. It has been reported by the farmer only of this area. And land reclamation efforts also going on very much. There are few villages studied. 3 major villages, 126 villages have been studied to understand that land reclamation efforts. And it has been reported that all the land reclamation efforts are on individual basis. And mostly we have seen that there is no such that land rights are there. And 9% of the people, they don't have any rights over the land, but they are doing it illegally. So what we can see, there are the stress that tenant insecurity is actually always there. So they don't invest money, don't invest labor on the land to make it more manageable, more sustainable. And their access to credit market also very much lesser due to this no land right. So what we are seeing that due to this, it leads more degradation on the whatever the land is available in this area. So there are very adverse effect because we see that new class of powerful rural landowners develop due to the high rate of land leveling, and there are introduced the new leveling techniques using JCB, tractor, and many more other power tiller or some other, and it becomes a business of this area. Mainly the powerful people in many ways using these facilities to extract resources, and one section of people are deprived. So that unequal ability to opt for land leveling again creates problem, as 2001 government policy was the only some section of people who are backward, who are marginalized, they only get the land rights. After 2001, that land rights is stopped. That patta, this is what I known as patta, it's not giving anymore. But those people are not able to level their land. So what is happening? Powerful people are taken over that land, and they do the practice, and these people are migrated to the nearby city. So that uneven development is there. And then another problem is conversion of common property resource, which already I have discussed earlier. And then natural processes, loss of biodiversity, so increasing man-animal conflict, because the natural land is disturbed. So there are reindeer, there are peacock, there are many more wild animals, wild boar. They just come out from their natural habitat because of disturbance of their natural habitat. So we find much more man-animal conflict in this area too. So that adverse effect another means of livelihoods, that is the collection of wood, collection of animal husbandry. Then mostly women and children, as I said, already affected due to this. And weak property rights over land is also another problem. And 23% of those who level land had legal entitlements. So we can see that rest of the people don't have. So it doesn't bring any permanent solution of this area. So 66.5% of the reported gully initiation take place in this area, which locally people say cut off on the land. So soil erosion is initiated on the level land. So we can understand, and that this is the general linkage that many people worked on that to establish that linkage in India also, and we have also worked on it. And Professor Sharma worked long back to understand the processes of ravine. So without taking his name, I can't complete my work. And finally, the world scenario also I have put it here to understand that should be the land degradation should be the global priority. It requires policy solution and affected regions of the developing countries to see as fundamental to alleviating poverty worldwide as to goal of attaining zero net land degradation of our world. So that concept I have borrowed from Garber and Horchard's in their work of 2018. So that's all. Thank you for your kind patience, and thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for your very informative and very, I think, from my personal point of view, this is my best PPT because as being the teacher of undergraduate course, so it was very much easy and easy to understand, and how you explained us all the points and the works you have done. So it would be much easier for the students to understand, and also if they wanted to work later on in these topics, they will be definitely interested on this part. I think the way you have represented. And so thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much for your presence and your spending the time. So to the participants, I want to tell, if you want to ask any question regarding ma'am's topic, you can ask her directly by unmuting your mic. Anyone want to ask any question? I've got many questions from the chat section, but yes, Sribash, can you hear? Yes. Okay, ask.
First, thanking you for excellent explanation. Ma'am, I am from West Bengal. I am working proper village from
Sribash, network problem is happening. So repeat your question and make your speaker audible to everyone.
Am I audible to?
Yes.
Please continue. I would try to understand. Please continue.
Ma'am, village problem.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Can you write your question, please, so that towards the end I can explain it. Whatever I would love to explain, whatever your query is.
Sribash, please write it in the chat section, okay? Because you're not.
I'll be happy. No problem. Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, so on behalf of the others who have written the question, I want to ask you on behalf of them in the chat section. Shopun Shao said that, ma'am, China is a big land reclamation area, so how to manage during natural hazard?
China? Sorry? Can you
China.
repeat?
China is a big land reclamation area. So how to manage during natural hazards? Means, I
As
think he's asking about the land degradation part only. How to
okay,
manage at that time.
okay. I try to understand his question. Of course, first part is true because they started working on land reclamation, and they try to invest many scientific way of doing it. Recently, I have attended one conference on gully erosion, and there are many more Chinese colleagues. They presented their work, but to be very frank, their mitigation is very much cost cost effective, and but at the same time in the long run it is very difficult to follow that same practice, and there are several methods they are applying, but still there are question of sustainability. As China is a huge land, and but they of course they are working on land reclamation, but it's how much it is foolproof, I don't know. And the question of natural hazards, I don't know, and what kind of hazards you are talking of. Maybe floods.
Maybe floods.
Maybe floods, one of the natural hazards. So flood is, you know, that has another dynamics altogether. That is nowhere is you can link with this the reclamation process. It has its own dynamics. The flood sometimes gives you some land, and flood sometimes take out your is giving land. So that is always the positive and negative way of developing the system. So it is not comparable at all.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, I think Shopancha has get his answer. Another question from Gabriel Ake. Are there no environmental and legal framework to check man's abuse of the environment in the area of your study?
Very good question. I think it's very relevant. You know, like as I said that every land needs no needs to be productive. Actually, our way of looking at the problem is always very economic functional way. Like we always think about the economic perspective. No, we should not think in this way. Like for an example, if we take the example of Arizona in US, that Badland area, they protect their land for tourism purpose. But can we do that? No, because our as I said that already there is land pressure. Of course, as you are asking me that to stop the abuse of land, you know that as this area is very remote area, and I said that after 2001 there is no land rights given to any section of people. But in 1980s, they used to give land rights to people where the lands are very much shallow ravine is there, and they think that if land, there are actually experiments that if they do the land leveling, that maybe it is more manageable. But over the time, people realize that it is no longer very much sustainable. But that is the policy actually. That is the common property resource policy. But within the policy, there are gaps, you know. So some lands is always, we find that to always be there to distribute among poor. Like if you see the river bank of India, many rivers bank, that is actually that is the land rights among some people who are the marginalized people. But as a geomorphologist, as an environmentalist, do you support this? No, nobody supports. But always you can see there are number of factories, mainly automobile factories on the Ghaggar River. There are so many examples all around. These are actually illegalities. So you know, that is the problem of developing and underdevelopment countries. To practice our legal rights, to practice our legal policies. So always there is people take the advantage of remoteness. As I said that the powerful people or large landhold or farmers, they always level the land which is adjoining of their existing land, so that due to the remoteness, it is very difficult for the block development officer or patwaris to visit those land. That's why I told you, there is always the insecurities of land rights. So they don't invest money for that, because they think that, okay, we level this land, few years we do agriculture, and if after that government take it back, so no problem. So what is happening because of this? Because of this, more barrenness actually taking place. So these are the problem. Policy is there, but implementation of policy is very difficult in the heterogeneous landform. And our country is very diverse. So we need more foolproof, and mainly awareness is required for that. And we need alternate livelihood means to prevent such thing, because wherever is poverty is there, you can't stop people taking advantage of the environment. So that's why I told you there is two-way process. If there is land pressures, then automatically people would rely on the natural environment to extract fuel wood, to extract forest product, to extract fisheries, many things, many ways. They just depends on the environment. So that then what we can see, there is land environmental pressure, environmental degradation. So we always have to secure their livelihood means to prevent this kind of abuse. So it's more of a governance actually. We can't ask, don't use this land if we don't give them enough food. So bread and butter is the most important. So that's why I told you poet Sukanto's line that Purnima cha jana jhalsano ruti. Because if you don't have food, you can't visualize your land is an aesthetic way. You can't protect your land for tourism purpose. Because first to think you forced to think to get some food, wheat from their land, rice from their land, not to protect the land for aesthetic purpose. So that is the irony of our society.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Another question from the YouTube section, also from Gabriel Ake. How do we strike a balance between the quest for man's survival through the utilization of land resources and need for land conservation and environmental sustainability?
I think already I explained.
Yeah.
Without knowing your question, already I explained extended analysis of your question.
Yes, madam.
First question.
Okay, thank you for that. And another question is from YouTube section, Shonjit Goswami. Madam, is there any positivity of soil erosion to us?
Certainly not. Sorry to say, because of course, and if there is slope and one land is eroded and the next land is going to get that benefit. So, but that is very temporary and very localized. But overall, if you go for the beyond time, like beyond time in the sense, like after few years down the line, always it is follow a particular slope due to the movements, creeping, and finally it go down to the water bodies. That's why that is called offsite implications. That's why this term actually used for soil erosion. There are offsite implications. So no, frankly speaking, that is very temporary. That benefit actually very temporary. There is no such long-term benefit by the soil erosion. Actually, it is a permanent loss.
But as a geomorphologist, it's a natural process also, soil erosion.
Natural process. For example, immediate example is foothills of Himalaya. Shivalik is very much, there is very thick deposit, so Bhavar and all those areas we consider very fertile. But there are this kind of erosion. But ultimately there are erosion taking place. So soil erosion is not very local, and soil erosion cannot be very much useful for the overall development.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And next question is from Google Meet section. It's Gayatri Kar. How can we establish culture of conservation in our students? Okay, means to impart knowledge in students.
Of course, because they are our future citizen.
Okay.
And I'm happy that if you start from your life, like if you start doing it and if you talk about it with among your friends, among your relatives, and whenever you get an opportunity to do that, I think then indeed we can do something towards our environment.
Yes. So Sribash Kanji was not inaudible at that time audible. So he has written that when waterlogging become responsible, lower agricultural productivity, then what measure is needed to restore its productivity? Can you get that? Get the
By your
question?
question, I think he answered. By his question, he answered. Actually, waterlogging, promote different kind of soil problem, chemical to biological, right?
Yeah.
And mainly you have to drain out to prevent that particular soil, so it get more oxygen. So I can understand. Like already you have answered in your question towards the end by asking it.
Yeah. Thank you. Another from Momita Paul. How physical factors related to cultural landscape?
Because you know that if you see, I think yesterday Dr. Hawk, he talked about it, about cultural landscape.
Yeah.
Culture is a term, like it's a combination of things. And always you can see, if you see the Ladakh people and if you see the Indo-Gangetic people, we have cultural diversity. So that topographic has certain kind of control over it,
Yeah.
Like if you go to our Bastar, which promotes large vegetation cover, so our primitive people are till date is there, So this way you can think about your land. So that's why at the very beginning I told you that every land is very unique. And we have to think about it. That's all.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, another question from our student, Shonatan Jana. Ma'am, is there any chance to build embankment and prepare a proper drainage system by creating small drains?
Where? Embankment is always
in the study area, in your study area. I mean,
no, actually, this area is huge, and there are problem is if you see like Kalanchi and other Badlands area. Even if you take the example of your Gangani, take the example of your Khwai, very different than my study. The study area I have been discussed today. Here we can see the very dense network of gullies. If one side you make an embankment, in another side is open, it needs huge manpower and cost. It's not possible at all, apart from doing naturally. So that's why in 1964-68 there was aerial city. From that helicopter, they sprayed seeds on this land. So what happened? There are wild boar and wild animals. Because of that seeds were not stabilized there, and there is very few vegetation cover actually developed due to this. So that's why it is again very, very difficult and very much land specific. Maybe it is possible in Khwai, but not possible in Chambal, of course. So you have to think the aerial extension of the area and nature of the problem.
Yeah. Actually, as you have mentioned about Gangani and Khwai, so the next question is from my part, that the plantations and afforestations on the land that have already been done in the Khwai and also in Gangani and also in Gopgor area in Midnapur town also in areas. So it's for the stabilization and restoration of the badland topography, but still it's my point of view, I have seen that the soil degradation is not checking that much. So is there any lacking in the planning or implementation or any other concept? Can you give me the knowledge about that?
Yes, I have to actually, very frankly speaking, I have visited Khwai but not visited Gangani yet. although I
Okay.
would love to visit that area, but I can visualize through literature, through photographs. If you take the example of Khwai, it has very different cultural aspect. Khwai is a land which people dream of, like if you always, that's why that cultural landscape, that's why that idea of land actually developed this way. Why always we associate with Tagore, associate with aestheticity, associate with the institution like Santiniketan. Santiniketan. So you can see there are the composition of people are very different than the composition of people in Chambal and Gangani itself. If you see the Gangani, I think from literature, of course, if I am wrong, please correct me. Gangani the next to Silai, right? River Silai.
Yeah.
So, and there are steep slope, then Gangani is developed.
Yeah.
But still there are problems. You can see that people use as a picnic spot.
Yeah,
but if you go back to history of Gangani, then that is the area where long back there is one revolution took place that is called Chuar Vidroh. If you go back to your history of that area, that means there are some primitive people used to be stayed there, that area, and that area should be considered as a revolutionary area. But people don't protect that land in this manner. They use that land as just a picnic spot. But you cannot stop such kind of behavior enforcing law. So it needs different, I think, awareness. And of course, vegetation cover can be a good measure for that area. But that area, I think, should be used as a geoheritage, one of the geoheritage site. And government initiative needs to be done in this area to protect that beautiful land, because beautiful Duricast is there. As a geomorphology student, I can say it's very nice landscape. So this way we need some kind of prevention for this particular area, and we need to know history of that land. So always history help us to love our land, to protect our land, and we are more sensible towards our land. Actually, we have to develop, we have to germinate such kind of feelings towards our surroundings.
Okay. So can you is there any selective plants that we use in the plantation process, which can help us?
Yes, it is very much there, although it is not my field of expertise, because it needs certain kind of vegetation cover which can be sustainable in this area, because there are very thin soil cover, in Gangani, because that is called laterite pan, and in Chambal it is called conker pan, which is very hard. Once it reaches to this erosion, that is called ultimate erosion, then further it cannot go down. So that means in this area, that is the pan is exposed already. So all vegetables is not sustainable in this area. We need a particular species which is sustainable, and that is actually a botanist can say, or agriculture scientist can say about it, that which species is important. As a geomorphologist, I can say, look, there are some species must be suitable, but I am not the expert to tell you which species actually is suitable for that area.
Okay.
But afforestation is always a good measure of controlling land degradation, any form of land degradation.
Okay. Another one from my side only is that you have shown that there is a shifting of ravines from 1 year to time span you have shown.
Villages.
Shifting
due
of
due to ravine encroachment.
Okay.
Because the ravine nature is always very interesting. It always proceed towards the fertile land.
Oh.
As I said, that process, like that headward encroachment process. That's why it called by Professor Sharma plague-like disease. It is always engulf the fertile land, the plain land. That's why that innocent flat land I showed at the beginning.
Okay. Another thing is you have mentioned two theories. of the origin of the badland topography of this Chambal and Yamuna basin. So can you just in short tell us about the two theories in natural and that part?
So I didn't show you some of other our work because of that every presentation is designed in a particular way. But of course, there are rejuvenation theory for this area. Actually, Chambal was multi-channel before the orogeny movement. As per geologic explanation by Ahmed Parimala, and there are many more people who worked on this area, that they consider Chambal as a multi-channel. And later still, when orogeny started taking place and Himalaya started develop, and after that, that movement is much more prominent. Actually, not before orogeny, after orogeny, but not in a particular manner. So it started more that prominent process take place, that multi-channel converted to single channel. So it left all along some dry channels or paleo channels on the river system. So always, and river has very high rate of incision of this place. And as you know, as a geomorphology student, when incision take place, rest of the area become unstable because the water started down cutting more than the lateral cutting. So that development is actually due to this, but there is a particular direction of the development of channels due to this left out dry channels, which is again very prominent in Luni also. So many dry channels are there during flood that they follow this particular direction. The same, the Chambal badland encroachment and development or its direction is a particular manner. Wherever it gets small lineaments and dry channels, it flows and develops accordingly. So that is the geologic cause behind it. And then another cause is overgrazing theory, removal of forest cover and vegetation cover, and other processes like land pressure, unscientific agriculture practice, land leveling. All those things are other causes for expansion of Chambal badland development.
Okay, and next is from Sheikh Kutubuddin. He's a student of our college. Is there a relationship between salinization, land degradation of the properties of physical and chemical with level groundwater level?
Yes, it is. There is a mutual salinization is a part of land degradation. It's one type of land degradation, and you know that there is a very good relation of groundwater and salinization process, because evapotranspiration rate is very high if the groundwater is in a particular level. So there is a very strong relation.
Okay. Okay, I think all the questions.
And that's why Indo-Gangetic plain, there are many more salinization process.
Okay, so Gabriel Ake, this is for you. Madam have already answered your question. You have answered two. You have given two questions, and ma'am have already answered. So, ma'am, this is all of the questions asked by all the participants, and from my side also. Thank you very much, ma'am. If you want to conclude anything with your kind words, you can.
Thank you very much to you all, and I'm very happy. And I would have been more happier if I am there physically.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
got a chance to interact with you all. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, please continue with our next sessions also. Thank you. Next. Okay. There is an announcement to be made. The announcement is that we are sorry to announce, we are very sorry to announce that Professor Ashish Kumar Paul is not present with us in this session. So due to some unavoidable reasons, So please excuse us for that. And we all know there are various students of Professor Paul who were waiting for him and his lecture, but due to unavoidable reason, he has to skip our webinar. So we will request our next guest of honor, my very dear friend, and also our honorable guest, Aman Arora. So I would like to introduce him first. Dr. Aman Arora has completed his doctoral degree in geography with specialization in remote sensing and GIS. He has more than 10 years of experience in various positions in different private or public organizations. His research interests are in change detection analysis, urban planning, network analysis, flood frequency analysis, hydrometeorology trend analysis, and spatial modeling. His current research interests are in the field of risk mapping analysis for different natural hazards by utilizing the advanced algorithms, including machine learning model. He had received numerous travel and other supporting grants from different organizations of international repute, such as National Science Foundation USA, United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, Vienna, Austria, Council of Scientific Industrial Research, India, and Sun Yat-sen University, China, to deliver his oral presentation and participation in conference and training programs. Currently, he is working as Senior Program Associate in Science and Engineering Research Board, New Delhi, involved in execution of various tasks and assignments such as program and grant management, coordination, and assistance for smooth operation of different programs of national importance and capacity building. So we are very lucky that my friend and our guest of honor, next guest of honor, and I think he will be the last but not the least of all the esteemed guests who have entertained us and have fed us with various knowledgeable ideas. And I would request Aman Arora to take over his mic and please enlighten us with various research papers and knowledge. And it would be easier if you make it a much easier way, so because maximum students are from undergraduate course. Okay.
Thank you, Abhinanda. It was such a nice introduction about myself. Even I was not sure that I have done so much things which you have introduced about my background and current career. So without ado, I am just going to present my presentation. Just let me know if you can see.
Yeah.
So is it visible?
No, it's coming. Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. So very good afternoon to the respected professors, teachers, and audiences. Today I got a wonderful opportunity to be an invited speaker in this webinar. I am very much thankful to the Dr. Dalal Chandra Das, the principal sir for the KD College of Commerce and General Studies, and of course my dear friend Ms. Abhinanda Pal, the HOD department, HOD of Geography, for their efforts and provide a platform to interact and exchange your knowledge on the topic of changing physical, economic, and cultural landscape.
Excuse me, Aman. Actually, can you use your headphone, because it's the sound is
Okay.
crippling. Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Okay, there is some issue, I think.
Uh, start your presentation.
Yeah, that is, wait, okay, yes, it is there. Is
Yeah,
it fine?
yeah, it's coming. Yeah, now it's.
Okay, so yeah. So I found myself an immature in such great eminence academician and researchers like Professor Padmini Pani and Professor Rashid Paul, unfortunately, who could not deliver his presentation. And that I'm very fortunate enough to be a part of such group of eminence researcher and being invited to deliver a talk of my expertise. And my specialization is currently involved in the flood susceptibility mapping and the monitoring in the Middle Ganga plain. And being a floodplain developer, lived with the floods and have first-person experience of this natural phenomena since my childhood. After getting my educational training in the field of geography, while having my graduation in geography from Banaras Hindu University, led me to understand better type of floods, their causes and consequences, and most important, my exposure to geospatial technology and techniques trained with me the requisite skills to quantify this natural forms, process, and phenomena. Here I'll try to provide a brief glimpse about the susceptibility mapping process and how can it be very helpful for the youngsters like the current audience, the graduates, the undergrads, and the postgraduate student. And I provide very simple presentation here. I have not gone in such deep analysis framework in present presentation. But later, if they want more information about the knowledge sharing think about the susceptibility mapping, then I would be happy to share the same. So here we will cover in this presentation what is the susceptibility, introduction to GIS, and how can we use GIS in susceptibility mapping, importance of this study, a type of the susceptibility mapping, and one case study which is about from my PhD, the flood susceptibility mapping using statistical algorithm. The bivariate algorithm is frequency ratio and Shannon entropy models.
Sorry, Aman, again, I am interrupting because participants are requesting that sound is not clear. So can you please say it loudly or put the speaker nearer to your mouth, something like that. Hello? Network problem, Manoj. Hello?
Hello. Yes, there was some network interruption. Sorry.
Yeah. It's fine. It's now absolutely clear. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Continue, please.
Just. Okay. So can everyone see the presentation now?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So what is a susceptibility? First, the state or fact of being likely or liable to be influenced or harmed by a particular thing is called susceptibility. In a specific manner, in the detailed manner, we can term the susceptibility as a probability or likelihood that a risk phenomena happens in a specific area and in not a determined date based on the correlation of the conditioning factors with the distribution of past events. The high level maps can be prepared on the susceptibility about the disastrous events. It's called also the spatial likelihood. And after that, we can create also the hazard, the space-time likelihood maps, and the vulnerability, the degree of damage of property and structures. And in the last, the risk maps, which is also called the damage estimation. So in this hierarchy, first we have to provide the susceptibility maps and analysis part using whatever the algorithm you are trying to do and the GIS mapping. So there are type of disaster. Here, first is the landslide, which is also a disastrous event in India and most of the hilly region, especially, which is caused due to rain, earthquakes, volcanic activities, and other unstable uh, land masses. So this is the example of the Kedarnath landslide happened in 2018. And the second part come is the flood, which I'll cover in the later study, later presentation in this presentation. So this is a glimpse of the Bihar flood in 2008, which have submerged all about 40% of the area in the Bihar at that time. Then the flash flood, which is also caused due to the excessive rainfall, especially in the hilly areas, and it submerged the low alluvial areas or low-lying altitude areas in the hilly area, especially. And then is the drought. Drought is also is one of the most disaster event in the, especially happen in the tropical areas like India and Africa and Brazil. Then fifth is a forest fire, which happened due to some anthropogenical activity, or sometimes is the excessive heat during the summer. And recently, the big forest fire occurred in the California, USA. And the sixth is the gully erosion, which is really very tough to estimate. Estimate the gully erosion susceptibility maps in terms of collection of data, because it's very small things which you cannot estimate through the satellite images. And the last is this land subsidence, which is now causing several phenomena worldwide, which has been caused due to the successive erosion in the riverby, and also due to the groundwater events. And there are many more disaster which can be mapped, which can be analyzed due to with the help of the statistical algorithm and the GIS environment. Here's a glimpse of the worldwide numbers of disasters, which I have taken from the trade economic loss, poverty, and disaster during 1998, 2017. And here we can see the most of the events was recorded. It's flood. It's about 3,148 recorded flood has been recorded. And out of the total affected people, 2 billion people, about 45% people have been affected due to flood only. After that, there is storm, which has caused 16% affection worldwide, and then earthquake, which caused about 3% of people, about 125 million people worldwide, and about 563 events have been recorded about earthquake. And after that, there are other disastrous events, which is extreme temperature, landslide, drought, wildfire, volcanic activity, and mass movement. Why susceptibility mapping is important? To reduce the losses from disasters and natural hazard, to map out which areas are more susceptible to these hazardous events, and finding out which areas prone to disaster based on the spatial predictive models, such as bivariate models or machine learning, and which has also got enormous attention worldwide to assess the damages happened due to this event, and also the risk analysis, and of course for the preparedness and mitigation. And further, for the futuristic analysis, let's say it's a comparative analysis with the earlier mapped about some areas from earlier models, and we want to do some comparative study with the different models. So I'll give a very short information about GIS, because I understand that most of the audience here is well acquainted with the GIS. And of course, you must be working with the GIS thing in your project work, also studying it in a specific manner. So I found a very simple explanation about GIS from ASB. This is a leading agency in the GIS mapping and industries. So it's a framework for gathering, managing, and analyzing data. The data in terms of, you can say it's the geographical data, spatial data, or the space time, which can be also further subdivided in different manner. And by using this GIS, we can identify the problems, monitor the change, like land use, land cover change detection we do. After that, the manage and respond to the events, then perform the forecasting and simulation, set our priorities, and understand different trends like rainfall trends and the temperature trend. The trend analysis we can also do with the GIS. How GIS is helpful in susceptibility studies is just the mapping we can do with the GIS. And further in the mapping, if we say in the GIS, is not only the mapping, we also do the several analysis in the different states to understand better about the event which has been mapped in the GIS framework. So there are different mapping is being carried out for different events. The most of the studies has been taken on the landslide. So I just put some example here. How can it be more helpful to understand which kind of events has been studied by the susceptibility mapping? The first is I have observed through the Scopus library and other mechanism like Web of Science and the Google Scholar, that studies has been carried on about the landslide susceptibility mapping first. After that, the flood susceptibility mapping, then flash flood. After that, the drought, the forest fire, the gully erosion, and land susceptibility mapping. I've also just try to see which kind of studies about the landslide is more famous worldwide. The first I observed from the Google Ngram is landslide susceptibility. After that, the risk assessment, and in the last, the vulnerability. So here I'll provide a very um, easy mapping process about the susceptibility. First, we need to collect the historical data, provide to prepare the inventories. The historical data, if I say, that is called the previous events. We can just collect those data in polygons or the points or through the field survey. If the case is the gully erosion or land subsidence or the soil erosion. And if the case is the flood or landslide, which is recognizable from the higher resolution maps or satellite images, then we can collect the same through that process. And then we need to divide the data in 7:30 ratio. This is a general trend nowadays, which has been focused in the worldwide, that you need to prepare your data in two categories, first for the training and second for the validation. So the maximum ratio we take for the training, like 70%, and the remaining ratio is 30% we use for the validation. And after that, we collect and prepare the conditioning factors, which is also called sometimes controlling factors or geo-environmental factors. And there are different categories and different mechanisms to prepare these conditioning factors to do the susceptibility mapping process. The minimum number of conditioning factor which has been seen in the studies is 5 or 6. And but nowadays they are just preparing more and more a number of data sets using these conditioning factors. And training and yeah, of course, after the preparing of the data sets, we train our data with the maximum share of the inventories is 70%. And after that, we prepare our maps with the spatial modeling, which is also called the susceptibility spatial modeling. And then we prepare our maps with the help of that model. And then we do the validation of those outcomes with the 30% of remaining data to see how accurate our data has been prepared, how accurate the map has been prepared in terms of finding out the events or susceptible lands with reference to that event. So software packages required for this mapping. The first, of course, the well-known is ArcGIS, and second is a freely available is the QGIS. After that, the image processing and the classification thing, which can be done through the ArcGIS, QGIS, and Air-Imagine. And there's a wonderful platform right now is Google Earth Engine from last 5 years, which I recommend the youngsters, people should learn this uh, online platforms to just uh, complete their mapping process or just analysis part without downloading the images, without downloading the satellite images, and complete their analytical part in a very short time. The third thing is the data processing and the graphs, which definitely done by the MS Excel. And fourth is the data analysis part, which also can be done in the MS Excel if we are talking about bivariate models. And after then, if we are getting higher in the analytical part, like if we want to analyze 3 variables instead of 2 variables, then we need to get it done in more uh, broader specific softwares like which provide more framework, more analytical background in terms of mathematical and statistical packages, which is SPSS, Origin Pro, Statistica, and the freely version, freely programmable software, which also are very helpful to do this statistical analysis in R and Python. For the bivariate models, which I will show in this presentation later, is a frequency ratio, for example, is can be done easily in MS Excel. And there are the higher advanced model called machine learning, multi-criteria decision making. As such example, the artificial neural network, support vector machine, the ANFIS model, logistic regression, decision trees, which can be done in MATLAB, R, Python, SPSN, and other platforms. So I'll show here the example studies worldwide is happening on the susceptibility mapping. So first paper I have taken about the Nahani, which has been published in 2019 about the landslide susceptibility mapping using different GIS based bivariate models. It's a very easy paper, that's why I just taken this out. So the author has used the bivariate model and taken the small area. It's 638 square kilometer in the Iran. And after that, he collected that the training and validation point due to with the field survey with the GPS, and also he has a showcased in the study map that validation landslide locations and training landslide locations. And the materials and method part, he had collected 109 landslides and prepared the 10 conditioning factors, which I have told earlier in the slides that minimum number I have seen is a 6, and this paper I have checked is a 10. So the first two is the slope aspect, then curvature, elevation, distance from fault, lithology, NDVI, distance from river, distance from road, slope angle, and land use. Now I just here let me clear about one thing. The conditioning factor data set should be different, not completely, but in some aspect for different kind of uh, analytical analysis. If we are talking about the landslide, then with reference to the landslide, we need to take that kind of conditioning factor for the good result. If you're not taking the appropriate conditioning factor, then result may not be that good or not accurate. Even you found that accurate with the help of your validation part, but still if you do compare with the appropriate conditioning factor prepared data set, then it will be different, of course. The methods for this mapping he has chosen in that study is the frequency ratio, Shannon entropy, weight of evidence, and the evidential belief function. And all are bivariate models where we use only two variables. The method to find the collinearity is the multi-collinearity analysis. I'll come later on this part. And the method for the validation is the receiver operating characteristic curve and the area under curve. So these are the maps, the output map from all four algorithms. And further, these are the success rate and the prediction rate, which has been completed with the RC curve graph. And this is the success prediction and success rate. Um, the first one is the means the most successful model was weight of evidence, then the frequency ratio, and then the last is the um, evidential belief function in both categories, prediction and success rates. The second study I have taken about the forest fire is where the person has used the more advanced models and optimizing the neural network for the substitute mapping of forest fire in Dak Nong, Vietnam. So this is a study area in Vietnam, and also he has shown about the area and showcased the validation and training points which has been collected, and the point he is collected with the satellite images, not with the field survey. So he has taken 70%, 1,873 samples for the training, and the 30%, about 803 samples for the validation. And the variables you can see here, it is slightly different with the earlier variables, which is also called the conditioning factors, which I have shown in the landslide mapping. Here the with the LM is also here means the elevation only, the slope, then aspect, NDVI, land surface temperature, which is new in this, NDMI, the moisture index, the rainfall, temperature, wind, humidity, distance to residential area. And why he has taken residential area, you can assume that fire is to check whether the fire event not so close in the out of the proximity in the residential premises. And then the distance to road, of course, this is also one of the parameter to check whether the built up area should not be closed in this forest fire events. And if it's there, then with the help of this study he can also provide a good result to the monitoring agency who can take further action. Distance to wetland, and of course, and after that the distance to forest. Here the person used the three optimization for the multi-layer perceptron is one of the category of the neural network, artificial neural network, the multi-layer perceptron. And most of the classification thing has been done or being done with the feed forward network or the multiple layer perceptron. And there is one also the new very advanced neural network is there, convolutional neural network, which has not been studied in well manner for the susceptibility mapping in Indian constant. So, so here he has taken three optimization: the gravitational search algorithm, biogeography based optimization, gray wolf optimization. These are the three optimization which you can also use in the MATLAB and R and Python, but not in Excel. And after that he had just completed his uh, the final model output, the sensitive maps, and then he has completed the validation part. And here he has seen that the isolated MLP, the multiple layer perceptron, has the lowest accuracy in terms of the prediction of the forest fire events. It's 0.92, or we can say 92% accuracy he achieved with the MLP. But in the with the optimization he achieved the better number, and the best result he has achieved with the help of BBO, which is the biogeography based optimization, where he achieved the 95% accuracy. So after that, there are other many studies are being carried out by different agency or different persons. So this is one of my paper which has been published recently in the Science of Total Environment, where I have chosen about four optimization with the ANFIS model. This is a second paper which again was using the no, this one is done using the analytical hierarchical process. This is one of the technique of multi-criteria decision making process, and this study has been done on the national scale of Slovakia. And third paper is again of mine about the spatial flood susceptibility prediction in Middle Ganga Plain. And I will give you more detail about this paper with the understanding how the mapping process can be done with for the susceptibility lands with using of bivariate models. Then there are further studies have been going on for the flash flood susceptibility mapping. This study was done using the machine learning like logistic regression radial basis function classifier, the multinomial naive Bayes and logistic model tree, and flash flood susceptibility mapping has been carried out by the Bin Thai firm and the group. The other flash flood susceptibility mapping was done in the Iran with the help of weight of evidence models. Then there is the gully erosion susceptibility mapping, which has been done in, which has been studied more in the Iran or other dry lands. And I have seen some papers also going on in the West Bengal areas where the gully erosion is more common, and of course in the Chambal region of MP. So we just to talk about the natural hazards in India. What are these? What is their standing here? So I have taken some notes here from the Disaster Management Agency from the website. Of course, the first is the flood, which has been shown is the 40 million hectares is prone to flood and river erosion in the India, and 15% of the land mass is vulnerable to the landslides. 42% areas liable to the drought, and about 7,500 coastline close to 5,700 kilometers, which is two-thirds, is prone to the cyclones and tsunamis. 60% of the India is vulnerable to earthquake, and the gully erosion, most affected states are the parts of in the West Bengal and the Madhya Pradesh. So now here I can say that that many studies are going on in the floods, landslide, and of course some in cyclone part in India, but very less studies has been carried out in the gully erosion, and very few, like one or two I have seen in the for the drought. So here we can focus, and of course there are very few studies happen in the Gangetic Plain and the Brahmaputra in terms of flood susceptibility map and the flash flood susceptibility map using the advanced algorithm. So where the youngsters can focus about their further futuristic studies. So here I will let you know about the floods, because the next part will come on the flood susceptibility mapping. So before that, I am just trying to give a glimpse about what is flood and what's the causes here. So the overflow excess water that submerges land is called flood. And in terms of the monitoring agencies, with the if we say the water if is liable to harm or harming the residential areas or the livelihood expenses like agricultural land and other lands, then that is called the flood, which is definitely means not in welfare of the humankind. The causes of flood is sudden and prolonged rainwater, the storm surge, the river levee breach, the dam failure, lake outburst in the mountain catchments, the glacial lake outburst flood, and the landslide lake outburst flood. The first four causes are more visible in the Indian continent, especially in the Ganga plain and the West Bengal and the Brahmaputra plain, of course. So these are the effects of floods: the physical damages, disruption of essential services, long-term effect, and the post-flood diseases after the flood. So here you can see the red patches is showing the area liable to flood. The most of the UP, Haryana, and Punjab, Bihar, Assam, West Bengal, and some coastal part of Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Gujarat are really liable to means flood. But we have seen from the news that many cities like Mumbai, or recently in the Kerala 2 years back, there are excessive rainwater causes the flood. But those floods are really not on the recurring basis and very short span of time. So So here I'm starting by the case study, which is the spatial flood susceptibility prediction in Middle Ganga Plain, which has been published in the GeoCarto last year. So the work was focused in the flood susceptibility modeling for the part of the Middle Ganga Plain, and the current objective of this paper was especially predicting flood susceptibility in the part of Middle Ganga Plain and comparing the results of both models in a sense which one is more efficient. So this is a location of the study area. This is the part of a small section of Eastern UP, Eastern Uttar Pradesh, and some part of Bihar. I have taken the satellite image of Landsat 5. This is it by mistake this time. Okay, so Landsat 5 I have taken for the prepare about the training and validation data from the flood polygons. The actual water body in the summers is 312 square kilometer, but the water body during flood is has been seen is 2,969 kilometer in 2008 flood. So the materials and methods I have taken is the first is the satellite imagery, the Landsat 5, and second is the shuttle radar topographic mission SRTM 30-meter dam. The three Landsats scenes I have downloaded. First is the May, the pre-flood, the during flood is the September, and the post-flood is the October data. And SRTM them I have taken for preparing of the conditioning factors. All data has been projected in the UTM WGS 84 for the zone 44M. Further, the data has been used to prepare the different layers for the conditioning factor, the altitude, curvature, distance from river, slope angle, slope aspect, TWI has been prepared by the dam, and distance from road has been prepared by using the OpenStreetMap. The geomorphology has been digitized in the Google Earth. The land cover data was procured from the CCI LELC 2008 map. The link has been given in the paper also you can see. Further, the rainfall distribution map was prepared by the CFSR climatic data freely available on the website, and the, the biasness correction also been done with the help of IMD station data, and there was very few biasness has been seen in the rainfall data. And after that, the soil data has been taken from the FAO, and in the data set, the training and validation data has been prepared using the flood polygons, which has been which has been taken out from the Landsat 5 images. So this is the flow chart about the study. The first is the identification of flood affected region, the sample study region. The random partition of flood inventory in 70-30% ratio has been done. And these are the conditioning factor about the for mapping the susceptibility map. Total 12 conditioning factor has been collected. The altitude, aspect, curvature, slope, distance from river, distance from road, river density, the TWI, soil type, annual rainfall, geomorphology, and land use land cover. So further, the preparation of the data set, multi-collinearity analysis has been done to check out whether there has been collinearity available in the among the data set or not. And after that, the flood susceptibility mapping has been completed with the help of frequency ratio model and the Shannon entropy. And the validation part completed with the help of 30% of data using the AUROC method. The flood inventory map has been prepared with the help of NDWI to calculate um, the water index. So here the flood and non-flood points has the training and validation point has been created by by taking the threshold of the NDWI values. If the less than 0.2 unit has been found in the data set, which that is categorized by the non-flood, and if the unit and if the value is found more equal to or more than zero point 0.2, then that pixels has been taken as a flat pixel. The conditioning factor preparation has been done as in already elaborated in the table. That dam derived factors are there, about seven conditioning factor prepared by the dam. The satellite data extracted flood expansive factors is geomorphology and land cover map. The other sources and other data has been prepared is the soil type, the distance from road, and the rainfall. These are the maps of the conditioning factor, and which has been classified again in the different categories dependent on the type of the map and the type of the mechanism to classify those images. Like the slope is slope aspect image has been classified more than in 10 categories to see which direction and which direction the land masses is there to check out by checking out the sun angle. And there is a TWI which has been divided into 7 categories. Then the river density divided into 6 categories: distance to road, which has been divided into manually 7 categories. Then there is annual total rainfall divided into 5 categories. Then in the soil map, which has been divided in the 6 categories, is as available from the database. Then curvature only in 3 categories because the concave and convex we have to check in the curvature, and the remaining feature is called the flat surface. Then there is distance to river, the land is land cover map, and the geomorphological units. So after preparing the data set, we need to check if there is collinearity available or not. Then to check out this collinearity in effect, we have to we have to analyze, we have to calculate their VIF values and tolerance values. The VIF is variance inflation factor, and the tolerance, which is normally can be done with the help of some software like Excel even, or in the SPSS. So after calculating the VIF and tolerance, we have to check the values of VIF10, VIF and tolerance. If the VIF is more than 10 and the tolerance is less than 0.1, indicate that there is severe multicollinearity problem and we cannot use that data set. So if we are taking about 15 data set, and if we found there is 3 data set have the values is more than 10 and less than 0.1 for the VIF and tolerance respectively, then we need to opt out those data set from the modeling. So fortunately, which data has been taken in this study is all 12 data set found no collinearity problem among data set, and further it was taken for the modeling. For the So modeling was done for the frequency ratio. The frequency ratio defines the probability of occurrence of any phenomena of interest. These are the basic formula of the frequency ratio. So here I have taken the flood occurrence ratio on the top and the area ratio in the below. So if you are using any other event study like landslide, then you have to put the landslide pixel on the top and the area pixels in the below. And here it is written like which indicate which. So the npix here, the number of pixel with the flood events within class I of factor variable x, and the npix xj is a number of pixel within factor variable xj, and the number of class in the parameter variable in xi, and the n is the number of factors in this area. I'll tell you in the table for the about the frequency ratio. So then is the Shannon entropy model, which I have not taken the complete steps here because it's little bit hard to understand in this means black and white sheet. If you further want to do about the analytical part in Shannon entropy, then I'll let you know the personally with the help of email or some other mechanism. So I'm not going further in detail about these models. For the validation, the area under the receiver operating characteristics has been chosen to check out the accuracy of the models. These are the results I found in the multi-collinearity analysis, and all result has been found well and echoes with for further involvement in the modeling process. So these are the result which has been calculated in the Excel for the frequency ratio and the Shannon entropy. So this part is defining the frequency ratio, and this part is defining the Shannon entropy. So this a whole process is done one by one. First, you need to calculate both areas for the class area of that particular class. Like if there is less than 45 elevation in that category available, then you have to calculate the area of that category, and further you need to take the percentage of that area. And again, you need to take the percentage of total flood points. How many flood points have been captured in that category, and then you need to prepare the you need to calculate the frequency ratio by dividing the flood pixel area by dividing the total area of that category. So this is a very simple formula for the frequency ratio, and you need to calculate all the things. And after that, here you can see the number are very similar with the frequency ratio here. So of course the frequency ratio is also provide uh, the consecutive results for the Shannon entropy. So further, these three factors or these three factors are little bit typical to calculate. Is I will not say typical. It's a more time consuming exercise to calculate all the parameters in the Excel, and it will if you are taking about 12 conditioning factor like I have done this study, then it will take about 8 to 10 hours to just complete the whole Excel sheet and get the values for the Shannon entropy and the frequency ratio. So these are the all the values has been calculated for the frequency ratio and the Shannon entropy. These are the results for the frequency ratio model, and which I can show here. These are the validation point and the training points all found in the proximity of the flood polygons, which also shows the how accurate model your study procured. And further to check the validation, to check the accuracy of the model, we need to do the validation part. The Shannon entropy model is slightly better found in this study than frequency ratio, and here you can see the actual meanders has been located in the Shannon entropy output map, and there is these two lines referring the uh, okay, these two lines is showing the old channels which has been abandoned from the main channel, and this the Shannon entropy model has captured these two models saying that this area is liable to flood, and of course here you can see the training and the validation point indicating that there was flood has been there was flood occurred in that time for which the data has been collected in 2008. These are the areas has been calculated. So it starts from the very low to the very high. So very high area is indicating here in the dark blue, so which are more liable to the flood. And the gray part is showing that area is either or either with a little high altitude or having no dips and depression for the alluviums plains there. That's why there is no any threat about the flood. That's why there is no any pixels or like points has been seen in terms of validation and training point, or let's say flood points in those areas. So these are the class-wise calculation for both models. So the high and very high is more important for the susceptibility mapping, and here you can see both are having little bit similar, but when we check with the help of the RC curve, so it has been seen that Shannon entropy means procure better performance than the frequency ratio. So it's about 89% has been accuracy found in the Shannon entropy, but for the frequency ratio, it is the 84% only. The major finding about this study was the flood conditioning factors relationship with flood occurrence has been used as the basis of frequency ratio computation in the part of the Middle Ganga plain, which has not been done earlier. Out of all conditioning factors, the FR values were found to vary in the order of sequences like altitude, curvature, TWI, slope, rainfall, and further on. While the weak correlation have been observed with the land use line cover and the distance to road and soil conditioning factor. And here I can tell that the land cover and the distance to road are not very prominent for the flood surface mapping, may be more prominent for the landslide and other events. The TWI has found that the most important hydrological factor is the value was 25.1.78 for the Shannon entropy, and for the geomorphology in the topographical factor is 2.13 is the most uh, important feature procured in the Shannon entropy, and we can see the geomorphological features results in the main flood map. So these all are the geomorphological features which has been marked in the final map of Shannon entropy. So the conclusion for this study was the Shannon entropy slightly found better in terms of accuracy for the susceptibility mapping than the frequency ratio. And according to the entropy model, the geomorphology came out to be the most prominently contributing explanatory factor, and distance to river is the least contributing. And here I here want to say that before this study, there has been no any study has been done worldwide where the geomorphology as a data set was taken as a conditioning factor. So this was the first study which has been taken the geomorphology and the conditioning factor. And after that, I have seen other studies which has followed this study using the geomorphology as the conditioning factor for the pluvial flood susceptibility mapping. So the objective and the applicable result of this present study will help the government agency and of course the NGOs and the natural hazard management. So these are the results which has been found out in this study. So I hope you like the presentation and have some queries you may ask. So if you find any difficulty to ask this question here, or like if you need more understanding, then you can reach out with my email ID here, and you can see the profile on the LinkedIn and the research kit. And I have initiated one new initiative. It's about the GIS training initiative, which is called the Spatial Bollywood. I've provided the name. We and my group is trying to provide more interactive studies and application-based studies about the GIS modeling and other problems on these platforms. So you can see our videos, and it is very new. So we are just providing some videos on the YouTube channel and the Facebook page. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Aman. Thank you for your excellent representation and very elaborate and very descriptive and also very intricate research works that you have done. You have portrayed in front all of us. So thank you for that. And thank you for taking my request so seriously and working on your helping us and
I should thank you actually.
managing in this busy schedule. Thank you for that. Okay, all the participants, if you want to ask any question, please ask. Then there are some questions in the chat section. I will then. Anyone? Direct question? Sribash Kanji, anything from you? Actually, Sribash Kanji questions each and every resource person. Okay, I think so. Now I will read the chat section questions. Okay, Sheikh Alam has asked you a basic question. What is the difference between susceptibility and hazard?
Yeah, that I have I think elaborated in my presentation that susceptibility is the first part where we do the mapping of those areas which is probable to the any event which is like flood and landslide, and in the risk mapping we do assessment how much areas or how much means the land masses are going to affect or like under the threat for that present situation like the flood or landslide. So in more basic framework, like in susceptibility mapping we do the prediction about those hazards, but in the risk mapping we do prediction as well as the assessment.
Okay. Okay, so thank you. Next, another question taken from YouTube chat section, again from Gabriel Aki. Isn't it important to do accuracy assessment to ascertain the validity of classification in these studies?
Accuracy assessment that was has been done with the help of AURAC. In the AURAC we basically like, okay, I'm telling you, if we need to do the accuracy assessment, then we have to some previous data or the ground data sets like we do in the LULC with the help of confusion metrics. So we do the accuracy with the help of those data set. And the same thing happened in the AUCROC, where we take the 30% remaining data set of the actual collected points, and then we provide, then we do the accuracy assessment with the help of the ROC curve, and as well as there are different cutoff independent variables, which is called the accuracy, sensitivity, specificity, that is done with the help of the confusion matrix only, where we check the where we take the points as a true values, the false values, and true negative and a true positive. So there's a confusion matrix box also been calculated with the help of the AUC method. So of course we do the accuracy assessment, but the technique here is called the AUC instead of the confusion matrix.
Okay, thank you. And another also from Gabriel Ake, our challenge is really understanding the rationale behind the use of any given methodology and how GIS-based software can be used to execute a given study.
Please repeat the question.
Actually, I'm not also getting the question. Our challenge is really understanding the rationale behind the use of any given methodology and how GIS-based software can be used to execute in a given study.
Yeah. So GIS for any challenges, like we all know the GIS or remote sensing is mere a tool only, which can be used in many disciplines. So of course, with the GIS, we can provide some study, provide some analysis in that framework, in that methodological framework. But complete framework cannot be achieved by the GIS only. We have to take some other help like the remote sensing and the GIS mapping and the field survey, or like the more important thing is your experience. If you have experience in that field, then only you can use your knowledge, use your experience. With the help of this tool, you can provide the solution.
Okay, thank you. And next question is from Shopon Shao. Sir,
Okay.
please mention some measures for forest fire vulnerability.
Okay, so basically, I'm not very much from the field of forest fire. My field is flood, but I have done some also study in the forest fire. But it was related with the climatic factor interaction, how this climatic factor changes with the forest fire element. But within the forest fire vulnerability, you need to take the conditioning factor, which is more responsible for those fire events. Like in some studies, I found they take the liter, like the dry materials they found in the forest, like dry deciduous forest quantity in this forest is also one of the responsible factor for the forest fire. And then is the land surface temperature, then the solar radiation, the wind. These are the main factors for the forest fire. And of course, after collection and preparation of those data sets as a conditioning factor, we can do the modeling process and prepare the forest fire vulnerability map.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Next is from Biplab Dash. He's also a student of our college. Actually, he's now learning about remote sensing and GIS. So his question about, sir, please explain about the softwares ArcGIS and QGIS. Little bit about knowledge.
So for little bit, I can say GIS is very costly software, but QGIS is free.
Very good information.
But I have seen in myself being a student in PG diploma in BHU, Banaras Hindu University. I at that time QGIS was not much famous because it was just introduction to the ArcGIS in Indian studies, and of course the backward areas like the Varanasi or the other areas in the West Bengal. In Delhi, there is one agency is a GIS development at that time, the name of that, and of course the CDEC Noida, who has introduced the QGIS at that time in their course member. But at that time, QGIS was not famous, and in the current situation, the QGIS is a group of the open source special GM from GeoForum, and they are giving more and more skill development training programs for the GIS user, uh, also on the online platform to get them more acquainted and the hands-in training program and go and get to more learn about the QGIS because many people just run away from the QGIS. They are very handy with the ArcGIS. It is just only because our training institutions only provide the trainings in the ArcGIS, not in QGIS. But I've used both of the software and both are excellent. In the QGIS, you can do more advanced classification and analytical part with the help of the graphs and other modules available in the QGIS, which cannot be done in ArcGIS. But due to the user-friendly environment, people tend to use the ArcGIS, like the mapping, the layout making process is very much friendly in the ArcGIS, but it's little hard in the QGIS.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Shumantra Vishwas. I think you know him from the workshop.
Yes.
Yeah. Dear Aman, let me know whether the same parameters can be used in other region, that is Bengal Basin or Brahmaputra Basin, for measuring the flood vulnerability and susceptibility.
Of course, it can be done in the Bengal region. In the Bengal region, I have been in the Vidyasagar University and also being in the field survey there with the group, and I found the topography there is a little different than the Ganga plain. So the parameter will be little different there in the West Bengal for the West Bengal region. The result also will be slightly it's different from the result which has been taken in the Ganga plain. The altitude, I think, will play a little more important role as a conditioning factor for the Bengal region. and also the sediment, sorry, the water discharge, the flow. These are the also the main elements, because in the West Bengal, as I can means, assume that there is some confluence point from the Ganga and Brahmaputra, so the volume of the water also get increased there. And of course the flood, like in Assam, happened due to this high amount of water, and sudden water discharge from the high altitude in the lower plain form, which also have some kind of retrospective images in the West Bengal availability. So yeah, there is some different conditioning factor will be there for the West Bengal region, but not too much different. Only I think one or two conditioning factor you need to add in that West Bengal region. There is one conditioning factor is called topographical positioning index, and other is topographical ruggedness index, TPI and TRI. So these are the two other conditioning factors which can be included for this kind of topography to calculate the vulnerability and the susceptibility for the floods.
Okay. Thank you. I think Shumantro got his answer. And next question is from another student of our college, Shonatan Jana. Sir, which are the most emerging scopes in GIS?
Emerging scope for
Nowadays?
the
Yeah.
for if you it depends on the person. If you want to go in the corporate industry, then there is no you should learn some more. Okay, here I can say that for everyone, not only for the undergrads or postgraduates. Like in the current GIS market, uh, there is a need of automation industry. There is a need of auto or manpower who is more familiar with the uh, programming skills, with the automation techniques. So either it's undergrads or postgraduates or even doctorate like you and me, we should learn about the programming. So these are the future in the GIS industries also. So now I have been involved in one project where is the automation digitization process is being done for the whole of the Europe and the USA. So there, what they are doing, there is a tool, online platform is available. It's a proprietary tool. It's not free of cost. So you need to just identify the area of interest, and the current measure of that tool is about 10 square kilometer area box. So you need to just put that tool, and all the feature will be digitized automatically. So there is no role of manpower. So these all thing has been done by the use of machine learning and artificial intelligence. So if we want to overcome the futuristic challenges in the GIS industry, we should know about the programming. We should know about learn how to use the script to save our time and analytical part, space size also. So
Okay.
so there is also, I have told in the presentation, is a Google Earth Engine platform is available. So we should learn about that platform. It's very user friendly. It's very helpful for the GIS analysis. Without downloading any images in your computer, you can save lots of your time, and many images which is not free of cost but available free of cost in the Google Earth Engine, which we can use in that mapping. And like all the pulsar is available in the Google Earth Engine, you can use that images and prepare your map. Just download your map, that's it. You don't need to download any data. So for being for to become a good resource person or to become more productive in GIS industry, you should just run with the current marketing process.
Okay. Another question is from Ramesh Kumar.
Okay.
Okay, I think Ganga Plain flood, Bihar area, how to solution these area crop problem. Okay, so how to solve the agricultural problems in the Ganga plains of the Bihar through GIS mapping or the problems from the flood. Yeah, I think.
From the problem of flood that I told you, we can provide any robust map or robust model that that thing has been can be provided by any researchers like me to the agencies who are doing this kind of sustainable development for any region, for the Bihar or for any other region, the CWC, from where I have taken the data for monitoring the flood challenges in the Bihar in my PhD. So I have been in that agencies, and the condition of those agencies are really not good, because there are lack of manpower, there are lack of resources. Like still they were running the Windows 98 in their system, some Windows XP. There is no any skilled manpower. So even if you're trying very hard to just overcome on these challenges, but until and unless those agencies are not very trained, those agencies are not hiring any manpower, even on ad hoc position, to make their maps and to make their urban plan map in more accurate manner, until and unless those problems cannot be solved. So with the GIS mapping or with any machine learning, you cannot do anything. If there is no agency is taking those maps or taking those kind of manpower, or involving the high tech machines in their agencies to do such changes.
Okay. So many questions are coming for you. Okay, next is Sanjeev Pradhan. Greetings, sir. My question is how to learn Python and R for data analysis, and how to identify which machine learning model to be used or best fitted for the study.
Okay, for the learning R and Python, you need to just visit some online courses if you are just new to this language, because you need some basic understanding about programming. Even JavaScript, if you are learning, that is fine. You can, if you have learned the JavaScript of C, then you can learn about the R and Python very easily. But even if you don't have any knowledge about those languages, then you have to be familiar with the programming first. You have to familiar with the scripting platforms first. So for the Python and R, you can take some online courses available, like on Udemy or Coursera. It's freely available courses also there without payment. Even with the payment, it's very less payment is there. And also, which I have provided the special Bollywood, that idea which came to me to just do some to provide some this kind of videos or this kind of study materials on my channel. So yes, you can take references about those things on the online platform. And then for what is the other question?
Another question is what is the most important quality in GIS analyst?
No. In that, okay, he was asking machine learning in the.
Yeah, machine learning. Yeah,
Okay.
machine learning. Okay.
Okay, so for that thing, you need to do literature survey first. If you found that kind of model has been applied already in that kind of topography, in that kind of geo-environmental environment, then you can choose that kind of model, and also do the comparative study in your study. Never take only one model and just complete the study. Of course, the paper will be published in any journal, but citation will not come on that paper. So if you're doing some study about the flood or landslide susceptibility mapping, you should take more than three models, more than three models, and do the comparative study. Then provide the solution that saying that this model have performed better than those models. And before taking those 4 or 5 models or 3 models, you need to read lots of literature, lots of study materials. And also, if you want to involve any new model, then apply it first in your study. If you found it very good result, then yeah, you can apply, and you can say that no, I found this model is very useful for this study. And there are lots of model which has not been still used in the susceptibility mapping process, so you can use one of them.
Okay. Another one that I have asked, that the most important quality in a GIS analyst. asked by Shaptarshi Mondal, and also the same question by Shaptarshi Mondal. Yeah.
You need to be dedicated first before being intelligent or being a very sharp mind. You need to be dedicated for your work. You need to be present either in the office or in the academic institution, be available on time, and also try to be polite with your seniors. Either they are saying something wrong word to you, but be polite because you are new to that industry or you are new to that platform. So your seniors must have more knowledge and understanding about that field. So if you're polite and be dedicated and punctual, then you can be a better analyst or any official in any industries or organization.
Okay. Momita Pal has asked how GIS and remote sensing are related to fluvial geomorphology.
That's I don't think like I need to give answer of this question because of course it's related and there's lots of studies from the fluvial geomorphology has been catered in many studies. In fluvial geomorphology, if you want to help, if you want to take the help of GIS only, then it cannot be done. Of course, you need to take a remote sensing because through the remote sensing, you can take the satellite images or the aerial photographs, and after that, you can do the mapping process and further analysis.
Okay. And the relevant question would be in this time would be that, sir, how GIS will help us in COVID-19 pandemic?
I actually when I have prepared my this presentation, I have included one slide about the COVID-19 pandemic susceptibility mapping presentation. I'm telling you, but then I removed it because till now there is no any prominent solution has been provided with the help of susceptibility mapping for the COVID-19. Even I have thought about it many times to do a paper. Even I have prepared a plan in my whiteboard to do. I have to do a COVID-19 paper. I have to do COVID-19 paper. Then if with many people I have also spoken with my co-authors and seniors, then how can I do the COVID-19 mapping? And there is no answer. There is really no answer. You can do the modeling thing, you can do a whole mapping thing. Of course the paper will be published, but this thing is the man-made, and the dynamic situation of man cannot be estimated by any model. You can estimate the natural phenomena like the agricultural land reduction or increase, but you cannot estimate which person will go which place at that time. So that cannot be estimated with the help of GIS mapping or any other machine learning model. You can predict how much result will be there. You can, many people are doing the susceptibility mapping or vulnerability mapping, saying that the cross interstate of the people from like Delhi to UP or Delhi to Bihar increase the COVID situation. But really the estimation of that thing or saying that due to moment only it has been increased, it will be wrong. There is some climatic factors also. There's many factors. So you can provide a susceptibility map with the help of GIS, and even if anyone interested, I can provide them a concrete layout about how to prepare those maps. It's not a very big deal, but still that will be not very accurate prediction. So that's why I just hold out that study and moved out with any other work.
Okay, I think I will end here with the question answer round.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you, Aman, and very thank you again for helping us to understand better the susceptibility and the hazard related topic. And we all are really layman, knowing the amount of information you know. So we know nothing in comparison to you. So we are very honored and blessed to get you. And yeah, if you want to conclude anything, you can say.
No, I have concluded everything in the presentation and the question answer itself.
Okay. Okay, then we'll move into the end session of our 2-day national webinar. And I would like to request our organizing committee, all the members of the organizing committee, Uttam Mahato, Shubhajit Barman, Tuhina Maiti, and also Prabhat Shaha, and also our technical assistants, Shukhendu Vikashgiri, to switch on their camera. And while Shubhajit Barman will take over the mic to toast a vote of thanks to all of you. And this is thank you from my side. And I will hand over the mic to Shubhajit Barman. Shubhajit Barman, please take over the mic.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. 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 Good afternoon to everyone, all the honorable dignitaries, respected principal sir, with all my colleagues, dear participants, and the organizing committee. Myself, Shubhajit Barman, faculty member of Department of Geography, Kerry College of Commerce and General Studies. I deem it a great honor to propose a vote of thanks to our honorable guest and all the participants to make this 2-day national webinar a grand success. The successful culmination of this webinar owes much to the guidance and support of our head of institution, our principal sir, Dr. Dulal Chandra Das, and also the participants. Sorry, a phone call is coming. And also participants who had the main motivation of our organization, this type of webinar. We are very much lucky to told that a total number of more than 100 candidates are registered for this webinar. Among them, 44.1% are female candidates and 55.9% are male candidates. Most of them from different states of India, basically West Bengal, Odisha, Bihar, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, Haryana, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Jharkhand, Andhra Pradesh, Sikkim, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Assam, Jammu and Kashmir, Delhi, and Chhattisgarh. Not only that, 2 candidates are also have registered our webinar from abroad, such as Borno State in Nigeria and Nanja in Kenya. Various persons with varieties of profession are involved in this participation, like students, academicians, people from public sector and private sector, research scholar, UG and PG students, SACT college teacher, assistant teacher, PhD research scholar, assistant professor, village resource person, and so on. And they are ranging from 18 to 64 years of age. Though this webinar is organized from a undergraduate college, but we can see that not only undergraduate student, but also student from postgraduate, MPhil, PhD scholar, and along with academicians have also joined with us. Now, I would like to express our profound, again, sorry to say phone call is coming. Now, I would like to express our profound gratitude to our principal sir for his presence in both the days of this webinar and delivering the valedictory addresses. Also, I would like to extend a special thanks to our chief guest, Dr. Padmini Pani ma'am, Associate Professor, Center for the Study of Regional Development, School of Social Sciences, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, for sharing her valuable time and beautiful thoughts about the dynamics of land degradation and rural development and integrated framework. The information and ideas of her sharing with us, like land degradation, its causes, impact, ravine and its impact and soil erosion also is, is very significant and monumental for our rural areas development and reducing regional disparities. I would further extend a hearty thanks to Dr. Aman Arora, Department of Geography, Jamia Millia Islamia University, New Delhi, for expressing his view on the topic hazard susceptibility mapping analysis using geospatial technology and advanced statistical algorithms. His explanation and analysis of the topic is very useful and interesting for us, especially for the undergraduate students who are learning about the terminology of remote sensing and GIS. Again, I heartily congratulate all the participants in this webinar and also the earnest thanks to all of our faculty members. Now, I introduce two of our enthusiastic faculty members. One of them is Miss Tuhina ma'am. Ma'am, please switch on your camera and show your face to all the participants.
Hi, good morning everyone. I am Tuina Maiti, the faculty of Geography Department of KD College Commerce and General Studies.
Okay.
Thank you
thank
to
you,
all.
ma'am. Okay. Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you for this time.
Okay. And another member, Mr. Prabhat Saha. Sir, please switch on your camera and see the face of our participant. Sir, please. Prabhat, sir, please.
Okay, it's done. Okay, continue.
Okay, now I give a special thanks to our HOD ma'am, Ms. Abhinanda Bal, inspired us and managing this webinar as a convener. And also, last but not the least, our former HOD sir, Vikas Dr. sir. Other mention of this event are Uttam Mahato sir, our faculty member, Sushrota Chakraborty, Subhrojit Bal, Krishnendu Pahan, Tapon Sau, and Subon Poira for helping us in various preparatory work. And special thanks to our technical assistant, Mr. Sukhendu Vikas Giri, Department of Computer Science and KD College of Commerce and General Studies, without whom our webinar would not be possible. Thank you guys for your contribution and make this webinar as a grand success. Finally, last and the very important message that is the feedback form. For your kind information, feedback forms are attached with the Google Meet and YouTube chat section and also sent all the registered participants to their given email address. The feedback form will be active up to 4 hours from the end of this webinar. Registered candidates are requested to fill up the form before scheduled time. It's very important that all the information given in your feedback form is shown in your auto-generated e-certificate. So be careful to write your name and organization on feedback form. That's the end our 2 days national webinar on changing physical, economic and cultural landscape, understanding the geographic processes and perspectives. Thank you. Stay safe. Stay home. Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Tuhina, feedback form must be added to the YouTube chat. Tuhina, can you hear me?
The link is not allowed.
Response টা খুলেছে কিনা সেটাই তো জানি না।
Feedback form will be attached Google Meet and YouTube chat also.
Yeah, YouTube chat, you provide it on the YouTube chat.
Yes, I am provided.
Yeah.
Good chat,
দাঁড়াও ইউটিউব অফ করো না। Unmute your mic. Tuhina, unmute your mic. Tuhina, copy paste the feedback form.
I provide the feedback from.
On the YouTube channel, YouTube chat section. It's not coming. তুমি করে দাও না, কিন্তু করে দাও না।
হচ্ছে না, দেখো তো আমার কাছে শো করছে।
আসুক না, কি এন্ড তো হয়ে গেল। আমি তো অ্যাডই করতে পারছি না, তোমার কাছে আছে?
কি হলো, কোনো সমস্যা কি?
Feedback from will be provided in YouTube section. It is visible.
Okay, Tuhina, wait. We are managing it. Tuhina, wait. Okay, I think for the YouTube section, there is a technical glitch happening. I don't know why, but we are trying to manage. But as the session will end, the chat section will be closed. So we will attach the feedback on the description section. So you can copy that and fill up the feedback form in the description section of the YouTube. Okay. Because it's not coming on the chat section. We don't know why, due to some technical problem. So we are providing it in the description section. Please hear me clearly. We are providing it on the description section. The feedback form link will be provided on the description section of YouTube. I am repeating again. The registered participants will be given and send the feedback form link on your registered email ID, and the remaining who are available on the Google Meet have already received the feedback form and feedback form link. And for the YouTube linked persons, we are adding and in the description section, please find it. Okay, for YouTube participants, please wait for a few minutes because the description section part has to be added after the closing of the session. So first we will close the session and then add the description area. So search in the description area for the feedback form after a few minutes. Okay.